Good afternoon, everybody, to the beautiful Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. After a hiatus since 2019, when we haven't been able to bring the IMSA Championship to you at this venue, we're back with all the pomp and circumstance that goes along with this fantastic circuit. Just outside Bowmanville in Ontario, just up the coast, or just off the coast from Oshawa, where there's a huge General Motors manufacturing plant making the Chevy Silverado, I think, at the moment. We are ready to do battle in a 2-hour and 40-minute contest for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship and the Chevrolet Grand Prix at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Hello, everybody, and welcome along from the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. My name is John Hindorf, and joining me in the booth is Jeremy Shaw, and we'll hear from Shea Adam down in the pits in a wee while as well. Perfect weather conditions with the temperature in the air at 23 Celsius, on the track at 24 if you prefer. That's 73 in the air and 75 on the track. Just on the other side of the lake from where we were 7 days ago at Watkins Glen International. Pretty short travel for most of the IMSA WeatherTech teams. 10 corners and 2.5 miles, or just under. It's not an easy circuit to pass on here because it's so high speed nowadays. Lap record pace being set in qualifying. The uphill braking area into turn 5 Moss Corner is pretty bumpy, but there's an opportunity maybe to be brave down there, also into the final corner at turn 10. But how about the commitment through turn 8 at the end of the Mario Andretti straight, and also over the top of the rise at turn 2, diving into that dip and then rising up over the top of turn 3, seeing a couple of nasty incidents at turn 3 already this weekend. Jeremy Shaw, good afternoon. Welcome to you onto the full broadcast with the international TV feed as well. Tom Blomqvist, Ricky Taylor, they battled it out for 15 minutes in qualifying. They were separated by the blink of an eye. Now they get to do it for real from the front row of the race. Mouth-watering.
Certainly is, yeah. 0.068 was the margin yesterday in qualifying in favour of Tom Blomqvist, but those two cars have been ridiculously closely matched all the way through the season. And yeah, the Cadillacs, they were back a bit in qualifying. Half a second back from the pole time was the best of them. That was Tristan Vautier. But as we heard, I think it was Oliver Jarvis say just a few minutes ago to Shea, I would expect the Cadillacs to be much closer in race trim, and they're certainly not giving this one up yet.
And Shea just telling me that the pit lane is clear, by which she means everyone has started and got out of the pit lane. 4 classes here, Jeremy. Nicely symmetrical, because we have 4 classes of 6 for the 24 starters, and the 2 GT categories, the cars are identical. It's the makeup of the teams that are different, and that's the first time we've seen GT Daytona and GT Daytona Pro here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Yeah, it is. So the first one ever, also here for a Corvette C8R. This is the GTD version, of course. The GTLM version wasn't around back in 2019 when we were here. So yeah, it's effectively 3 classes of car. One of those classes, however, is 2 classes of driver, all pro or pro-am. And yeah, I'm excited about the prospects of this race. It's not a huge amount of cars, but there's plenty enough to have a tremendous motor race.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'd forgotten that the mid-engine C8R has not been here before, and unfortunately for the Canadian fans here on site, they didn't see it in its full fat version. It's been slightly toned down to run with the GTDs, but Antonio Garcia was very quick in morning warm-up this morning and making a statement here. An awful lot of GM guests around. This race at 2 hours and 40 minutes. So what's that, 120, 160 minutes, but time enough, Jeremy, for strategy to play into the minds of those on the pit wall as well as those behind the wheel.
Yeah, very much so. And you know, it's the usual conundrum here. How long do you want to go? Do you want to stretch your fuel and maybe run a slightly slower pace, or do you want to go flat out? It's the same strategy to play as for most of these the cookie cutter length, 2 hours and 40 minutes, which I think is a great length for a race of this caliber.
Yeah, and the quality thing about that is what IMSA has done in terms of the sporting regulations, because the drive time is 45 minutes. 45 minutes minimum drive time is not a full stint. It's not 2 stints either. So you do have to think about how you're going to work your drivers and your Michelin tyres and your fuel throughout this 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Indeed so. I mean, a stint for both LMP3 and GTD is over an hour. They can easily run an hour on fuel and as much as 70 minutes, maybe a little bit more than that if they want to. So it opens up strategic options for the teams, and when they make their pit stops, could be the determining factor.
Our Porsche keys to the race include dealing with traffic. Yes, I know only 24 cars, but it's quick around here, and the GT Daytona field is 12. Let's remember that. As Jeremy was saying, those cars are the same. They'll be clumped together, particularly when the pro drivers are in them. Let's not forget that going off the track here and hitting the green stuff, particularly at places like turn 3, well, that's going to have consequences for you. Not from race control. That could be a trip into the tyre barrier. Keep away from any penalties. It's a fast front straight here, and drive through in the pit lane will really cost you. Track position is key. We might see 1 or 2 little tricky pit lane strategy moves trying to get ahead. If you can't pass on the track, and it is fast here, there's not many heavy braking areas other than into turn 5, then maybe you want to try something. Get a new set of Michelin tyres on and use the performance advantage to overtake your competitors in the pit lane. We'll be keeping an eye on the drive time. That was a talking point last week in our Porsche keys to the race, and working towards Michelin countdown to green at the end of this race. At IMSA Radio, if you'd like to get in touch with us, XM 207, Sirius XM 207, 90.7 FM at the track, and we are green here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for the first time since 2019. And already a spinner, and that's right from the front of the GTD field. That's Frankie Montecalvo, I think, who's gone round at turn number 1. He's got some damage to the rear corner of that bright yellow and black Lexus, and he was at the front row. Sean Creech Motorsport involved as well, the number 33 of Lance Wilsey. So was that the GTDs catching up with the back of the P3s on the start down to turn 1? Might have been. Get some news on that for you at the moment. Tom Blomqvist has jumped out to the head of the field. The good news for Lexus, oh, well, I was about to say is Frankie's got going again, but there's severe damage to the right rear suspension. There's still air in the Michelin tyre, but that tyre is not pointing in the right direction. It was very unlucky. Lance Wilsey lost it going into the first corner. Looked like he locked up the back end of the car as he was braking and turning in. He nosed into the wall and bounced out, and basically it was a game of billiards beyond that, and he's potted the yellow. The white car potted the yellow, and the yellow was Frankie Montecalvo, right rear suspension damage. Nothing Frankie could have done to avoid that, Jeremy.
No, ridiculously unfortunate there for Frankie Montecalvo. Done a fantastic job in qualifying. He had some really good pace, qualified the second of all of the GTD cars, including all but one of the pros, and it's all gone wrong on the first lap, and that's going to be a lengthy pit stop because it's not an easy fix on that Lexus, so that's going to take him out of contention. They're looking for their first win of the season. Unfortunately, it's not going to come today at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Hello to Frank Plasman's not sure where you are in the world. Frank, he's tweeted us at IMSA Radio. Where are all the other GTD cars? Doesn't this race count for the championship? Yes, it does, but only for the sprint championship. It's not a round of the full series, never was planned to be, and obviously it's not long enough to be part of the Michelin Endurance Cup. So the 6 cars that are here are all fighting for the sprint version of the GTD. If you'd like to ask us a question, as Frank just has, at IMSA Radio. Frank Montecalvo just trying to get back around to the pit lane. We've stayed green. Sean Creech Motorsport getting very close to the back of the Andretti car, which was put to the back of the grid. Qualified on pole position, but had unauthorised suspension part on that car, so went to the back of the class. And as everyone checked up into turn 1, the Sean Creech Motorsport car with Lance Wilsey, I think, just got a little bit unsighted and didn't expect Jared Andretti to stop quite as quickly in front of him, maybe over-braked, just headed gently into the right-hand wall and then bounced across, Jeremy.
Well, you're probably not braking there on the first lap. I mean, you're barely braking there in any case. Certainly on the rolling start, you wouldn't be braking at turn 1. You'd be flat out through there quite easily, I would think. So, yeah, the number 36 car certainly didn't give any room to Lance Wilsey. And that was just really unfortunate. Lance, he's already competed earlier on today in the Michelin in the Prototype Challenge race, so he's got plenty of laps already today. But unfortunately, it's gone wrong for him. I think he finished second in that race with Parker Thompson, did a really good run. So that's really unfortunate. And yeah, I'd like to see how much room he actually had there when the number 36 car turned into the corner.
Jeremy Shaw with me in the Haggerty Global broadcast booth. Hello from me, John Hindhaugh, and Shea Adam down in the pit lane was watching those two pit stops, and better for one car than the other, Shea Adam.
Yeah, the number 12 Lexus went straight behind the wall. The crew guy's actually grabbing an extra set of tires. It is broken right rear suspension on the car, as well as some cosmetics with the bodywork flapping around. Sean Creech Motorsport, the number 33. Lance Wilsey did make it into the pit lane. They pulled the nose off, looked at the suspension, deemed it okay. Now they're putting a new nose on the car, but there is a bit of work to do to try and secure it down. He's already lost 2 laps by my count. This should be the 3rd lap that he's losing. He will not get back out ahead of the P3 field this time around, but he is almost ready to be sent back out. But guys, keep an eye on the time spent in the pit lane and subtract that from the drive time when he does come in, when the pit lane window opens, because his 45 minutes will be longer than everyone else's 45 minutes, since drive time doesn't count when you're in the pits.
Race as the V8 engine firing up to the Sean Creech Motorsport number 33 car gets back out on to the circuit. 45 minutes minimum drive time. It was an issue at Watkins Glen with a recalculated drive time on percentage of the race lost, which left a whole host of teams unable to make the drive time for one of their drivers. Basically, quite a lot of the teams who had 3 drivers didn't have enough time to get their drivers in what was the end of the race when the race resumed. It's 45 minutes here, but that's 45 minutes on track. That's from the exit of pit lane to the entrance of pit lane. Anything that you count in pit lane does not count, so that time for Lance Wilsey will not count against his drive time. That's the point that Shea was making there. At the front of the field, Tom Blomqvist with a 1:05.987. And that's the problem, Jeremy. If you have to go in for an issue here, one of our Porsche keys to the race, don't have penalties, don't have problems, because at 65 seconds, and even for the other classes, 75 for the P3s, about 77, 78 for the GTs. Those laps go by really quickly if you're trying to fix a problem on pit lane or behind the wall.
Yeah, very much so. And that lap, by the way, was a new lap record, as it was on the previous lap. Lap 4, you turned a 1:06.001. The old lap record was set by Oliver Jarvis back in 2019 in the Mazda at a 106.09. So new lap record already for race leaders in this race.
And another one of our Porsche keys to the race was traffic, and the leader is already carving his way through the GT Daytona field. Up, in fact, behind the number 25 BMW, just goes past John Edwards there. Aidan Reid for Rick Ware Racing has just put the fastest GT Daytona time in at 1:17.592, and that's a pretty stout effort from Aidan in that Acura NSX GT. But Blomqvist by 1.1 seconds as he hits the traffic, Jeremy.
Yeah, tremendous flying start there for Tom Blomqvist. He's just checked out. 2.3 seconds already inside 6 laps, the margin over Ricky Taylor, who in turn is 3.7 seconds ahead of Tristan Vautier, who is struggling, I think, to hold off Alex Lynn at this stage. So the best lap of the Cadillacs last time around was Sebastian Bourdais. He did get past Olivier Pla at the start, but even he is not on the tail of his teammate yet. That's Alex Lynn. A problem here for the number 25 BMW. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, damage to that car on the right-hand side, I think. I'd wondered why that... lost a wheel. It's lost a wheel and Michelin tyre. Now, that's interesting, isn't it? Because that wasn't the first lap. Those would have been put on in the pit lane. Then the formation lap, and then we've had at least a couple of laps for that car. In fact, we've had 6 laps. And full course caution comes out for that slow-moving BMW and potentially a wheel on the track. It's the right rear, I think, Jeremy, of the number 25 car. They can't buy any look at the moment. Even when they're quick, they're not getting the results that they were hoping. It was coming down through the first part of the Moss hairpin at 5A, and the wheel parted company on the right-hand side from the right rear. I suspect that John must have realised that was happening because he'd slowed right down as the lead pack of DPIs were coming through.
Yeah, he had, thankfully for him, but there's another replay from a completely different angle. And golly, that team just cannot catch a break, can they? Just ridiculous number of things going wrong in that team. They were one of the crews that was called out last week at Watkins Glen. They won the race on the road and they get put to the back because one of the drivers hadn't met that minimum drive time requirement. That was one of the issues of running with 3 drivers as opposed to 2, which is a choice for GTD Pro, but not a choice for GTD. GTD had to run 3 drivers last week. The GTD Pro could run 2 or 3. So it caught them out there. This weekend, it's gone wrong again for them.
Behind the wall then for Frank Montecalvo, and they're still working on that car. The Vassar Sullivan team have had a busy weekend, had to rebuild the 14 car, and into the pit lane for the RLL Team M BMW. Shea Adam is there.
The bad news is that they put a new wheel on, they tried to tighten the nut, and it wouldn't tighten fully. Now, the good news is that the studs are still there, and the bits that are supposed to grip the wheel on this lug nut, this center locking nut, they are still there, but the wheel will not secure itself to this right rear area. So this is a bigger issue for BMW and this BMW M Team RLL.
Just the one of the new BMW M4 GT3s here as the rest of the team from M Team RLL are out in Italy building their new GTP cars at Dallara. Stunning looking piece of equipment that we'll see in IMSA competition next year. They'll be debuting in competition at the Raw. Expect we'll see some video and some pictures before that in what will be a brand new class at the sharp end of the field of the WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. And also next year we'll have a new championship as well, the VP Racing Fuel Sports Car Championship. And that's going to have the LMP3 cars, and that will take the place of the Prototype Challenge, but we'll have the addition of GT4 cars as well, what's called GTS in Michelin Pilot Challenge. But this is a separate series from Pilot Challenge. They are 45-minute sprint races. There'll be 2 sprint races at each of 5 venues next year, scheduled to be announced on August the 5th at Road America by John Doonan, president of IMSA, in the State of the Sport address. So it'll be LMP3s and GS, what's going to be called GSX, because it's a sprint type of format. 1 driver only, 45 minutes, straight through, but 2 different categories on the track. Being asked for by the LMP3 teams who currently run in the Prototype Challenge.
Some of them anyway.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
There's pros and cons, I think, to that. I've spoken to some people already who like it and others who don't. Some question, where are the young drivers going to get their opportunity? Because right now, with the longer distance races, a youngster can share with somebody who has the money to do it and give them an opportunity to get used to long distance races. So that's been taken away. But on the other hand, they're just single driver races, as you say. So pros and cons, but an interesting step, I think, that IMSA has taken.
We don't know what else is going on in reshuffling, but I presume that the P3s will still be eligible as a class for IMSA WeatherTech Championship, and therefore the longer races, you know, will still be available to them. I don't know, but I would assume that would be the point.
I would certainly concur with you on that one, yeah, absolutely.
Big effort by Michelin, providing all of the tyres this weekend for the IMSA Championships here at CTMP. And down at the pit lane, Shea Adam has an update on Sean Creech Motorsport. It did go out, Shea, but it's come back in again.
It went out, it came back after serving a drive-through penalty for 12 clicks over the speed limit on the pit lane, and then it came back in again. It is broken left rear suspension that Lance Wilsey detected out on the track. They've gone behind the wall to try and fix that if they can. And just a quick update on the 25 BMW, the wheel nut did eventually cinch down. They changed both rear Michelins to stickers and sent John back on his way.
John Edwards then has got back out. And let me see, did he stay on the lead lap? Where is he at the moment? I don't think he did.
No, he didn't. He lost a lap.
Correct.
But just the one lap.
Correct. Sits down in 22nd position with Lance Wilsey and Frankie Montecalvo for respectively Sean Creech Motorsport number 33 on MP2. That's one of the Ligiers. And Frankie's in the Vassar Sullivan number 12. That was the pole sitting car in GT Daytona. Those two cars behind the wall after that lap 1, turn 1 incident that caused them both rear suspension damage.
Yeah.
So we've had the prototypes coming to the front of the field. There was no pass around. There was no opening of the pit lane for general service. So just for emergency service, because we were so close to the start of the race, safety car lights appear to be out. So with 2 hours and 25 minutes to go, looks like we'll be going back green at the start-finish line, and indeed we are. Tom Blomqvist has to get his foot down again, which he does rather well. And down through turn 1, he's got 2 or 3 cars left on Ricky Taylor for the Cunningham and Alta Black and blue car in second. Then it's the first of Cadillacs, Tristan Fortier for JDC Miller Motorsports. Great qualifying for the number 5 car. Alex Lynn for the 02, first of the Chip Ganassi run cars. That's the white car with the, sorry, that's the black front with the dark red rear. Then it's his teammate, the 01, Sebastian Bourdais. That's the white car with the black. And then it's the red and white number 31 wheel and engineering car, Ollie Clark, behind the wheel of that. That's your top 6 in the first class, and as you might imagine, they have pulled away side by side for second. It's a problem for the second place car, and that's a puncture. The tyre has come apart for Ricky Taylor. Massive championship implications here for Cunningham and Alta. This is going to be another yellow flag. It's right in the middle of the track on the Andretti straight. Well, it's been moved over a little bit. Pits are closed and we're back to full course yellow. And that looks to be another right rear problem. Yes, it is, as Taylor comes in. So it's not going to be such a big issue because he will get back. This will be full course yellow. And the 10 car comes into the pit lane. Is there any other damage on the right-hand side? I can't tell you because it's on the other side of the track from what we can see. But Shea Adam is waiting on the inside pit wall for the Cunningham and Alta number 10.
I got eyes for you, John, as he goes on the brakes very early, but slowing down not as much as he would have. It is on the rim, and oof, the smell is not pleasant. Not much Michelin rubber left on that tire. They are changing just the right rear because, of course, the pits were closed when he came in. Emergency service can only be done, that needs to be done. Damage to the right rear, minimal. There is a tiny, tiny bit of carbon missing from behind the right rear brake light. That's it. They got lucky.
The whole of the outside of the tyre came off. Now, what we don't know is what caused that. There was a big lock-up the lap before into turn 5, so that may have caused a flat spot on that tyre. Oh, it was a very big lock-up. Was that the cause or the effect? Not sure of that, but certainly somebody hit the tyre carcass as they came through. The safety truck already there on the Mario Andretti straight, and that will get picked up. So one of the favourites, Jeremy, now at the back of the GS field. The pits have opened for prototype now, so this is going to be a full course yellow, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is, and this is going to be interesting to see who comes in and who doesn't. I would imagine they'll probably all come in right now, but yeah, I don't think we've had any other tyre failures this weekend, at least none that I'm aware of. So whether it was a result of that lockup or cause or effect, as you suggest there, is hard to say at this stage, because he hadn't been running the same sort of pace that Tom Blomqvist has been running. Certainly, his best lap, however, was at 1 minute 6.8, which was actually better part of a second slower than Tom Blomqvist in the early stage. No, Christian Vautier. Ricky Taylor's best was at 106.1. which is only a couple of tenths slower than our race leader, Tom Blomqvist. He is coming onto pit lane. Tristan Vautier, however, I think he elects to stay out.
Cadillac, but all the other cars down the pit lane are doing fuel and 4 tires. The 01, fuel and 4 tires. The 31, that's the Wayland Engineering Cadillac, fuel and tires for them as well. Ricky Taylor is just now coming in. It was actually a brilliant stop by the Acura for Meyer-Shank Racing. They did a really good job, but I think someone might have run the red light, John. Is that right?
No, it was the 02 Cadillac beat that Acura out and then had to pause for the red light. That was a brilliant turnaround from the 02 team, and they've got Alex Lynn out ahead of Tom Blomqvist, who was leading. Now, I didn't see a stumble at the number 60, so we talked about this, Jeremy, in the Porsche Keys to the Race in our Michelin Countdown to Green, about track position. It might have been that they just did a splash of fuel for the number 2. In fact, I'm hearing that is exactly what happened from Shea Adam. So the number 02 Cadillac only fuel, where it was fuel and tyres for the 60, and that cost them a little bit of track position. That's a very interesting call this early on.
Yeah, it is. And again, you talked about it earlier on, John Heinhoff, the track position here. It is critical because it is difficult to pass around here, and probably more difficult than at Watkins Glen International 1 week ago. So that could be a very crucial call by that team to come in and make a much faster stop and get out ahead of the number 60 car.
Well, this time around we'll open the pits for the GTD Pro and GT Daytona cars, and it's Mathieu Jaminet for Pfaff Motorsport. That'll be the other half of the field, so 12 prototypes, of which what have we had? We had all bar one of the DPIs in, but quite a lot of the LMP3s stayed out. Riley Motorsports 74, the 30 Junior 3 Racing, Andretti Autosport 36, and John Bennett in the 54 Core Autosport, they all stayed out. Did the AWA number 13 of Ori Fidani.
They all stayed out, John. None of them came into the pits, yeah.
So let's go down into the pit lane for the GTDs, and it looks like, just waiting for John Edwards, I presume he'll stay out because he'll want to get his lap back, and he has. Shea Adam, you've got 10 of the 12 in the pit lane with you.
I love opportunities like this. All right, we've got left side tires for the Pfaff Porsche, left side tires for the 14 Lexus, left side tires for the 3 Corvette, waiting on fuel for that. Fuel only for Alex Ramirez, who gets moving first and will be the first of our GTD Pro cars moving. Oh no, he was beaten out by the Pfaff Porsche. It was left side tires for Paul Miller Racing. It looks like they're having trouble on the 14 Lexus getting that left rear secured. Now that car goes back out and runs away. We've still got Robbie Foley and Aiden Reed. Those are the last 2 cars off the lane, and it was fuel and tires for both of them as well.
Hearing from Alan Prosser, the brilliantly named Lanzarote Camel on Twitter. He's our king of the screen grabs on @IMSA Radio, that it was the left rear wheel gun for the number 60 that cost them just a smidge of a delay. And of the GTDs that got it out there, it was Pfaff from, I think that's the Aston Martin that's gone through out into second behind the Pfaff Porsche, and they beat out the Corvette, Jeremy. So again, a bit of a turnaround on pit lane, and Again, a difference in strategy. 2 tyres for Faf, but they got out ahead. They were further down the pit lane. Fuel only for some of the cars that are behind them.
Yeah, number 9 car came in the lead, so has managed to retain that. The big jumper there would appear to be Ben Barnicat, who I think has rejoined in 2nd position, has he, or was that just according to where they pitted out on the racetrack? There's the number 25 car getting its wave around. That was between the safety car and the race leader after the pit stops had been made. So that can now regain the lead lap and pull around to the tail of the field.
So an action-packed first 20-odd minutes, 23 minutes have gone by. Still 2017 to go. We've done the final wave by. I think it was only the 25 that was
correct.
Assessed to be able to do that. Although in fairness, race control don't read out numbers. It's not like you see in some other series where there's a group of numbers put on the timing screen. It is announced by race control. Those who can take the wave by take it now on such and such a part of the circuit. Now what they say now is the DPI class split, so all the DPIs go back to the front of the field, and it's up to you to make sure that if you take it, you were eligible for it, because I'll tell you now, if you make a mistake or if your team makes a mistake, then it is a punitive stop and hold. Now, this is an interesting one. Shea Adam, you've got someone right off the end of the queue in the pit lane with you, and it's a significant car.
And it's Ricky Taylor in. Well, he's staying in. Philippe Albuquerque has now taken over that car. That was not an expected driving change because Philippe was slow coming over the wall. But in order to fulfill the emergency service requirement that they need to do because they came in when the pits were closed, they have to drive through the pit lane. They should have just driven through that time, not stopped in their box. That is not fulfilling emergency service.
So will they have to come through again, do you think, Shea?
I think so, but I'm going to double chat with the lead pick official, Johnny Knotts, and get an answer.
Copy
it's
that,
not like
Shea.
Wayne Taylor Racing to make mistakes like that, John.
Well, indeed so. They will find out whether they've fulfilled emergency service. Remember, they had to change 1 tyre, the right rear. The pits were closed when they came in, but sensibly, I think this was a rule added quite a few years ago now. 1 or 2 other series have picked up on it. No point in going around if you're going to run out of fuel or you're shedding bodywork or bits of tyre. So you're allowed to come into a closed pit and do the thing that needs to be done for safety's reasons. But then you have to come back in again. But I thought you had to do that during green, but we'll see. That's what Shea was alluding to there. They have basically come in when the pits were open for everyone else, and they have changed Ricky Taylor to Philippe Albuquerque. Now, in the DPI category, Jeremy, well, let's go to Shea first of all. Shea?
As long as you make another trip down the pit lane when the pits are open for everyone, that is considered fulfilling emergency service. So Wayne Taylor is good, and now Philippe is in until the end, we think. Green flag.
They will have done their drive time for that car being the pro class. What I did notice was Albuquerque passing cars as we're coming back to the green now. The GS and the DPI split was happening when he came into the pit lane. I'm not sure they're going to get away with that, with him passing cars on the back straight and into turn 8 as we were coming to the green, and that might yet trip them up. Car 25 has been given a penalty for not fulfilling emergency service. A stop at 10. That is John Edwards, the BMW team RLL car. Remember, they stayed out to get their lap back and then didn't come in when the pits reopened for everybody at the end. So they will have to come and stop for the previous yellow that was for them. So stop and 10-second hold. Keep an eye on the... Yes, literally no look at all for them this season in that number 25 car.
Yeah, but they know the rules, so that's not luck. That one was straight.
I'm waiting to see what happens with Albuquerque charging past people as we're coming back to yellow after the DPI split had happened. I'm not sure he's eligible to do that if he elects to come into the pit lane and then has to charge back half a lap to try and get back onto the DPIs. But let's see what happens there. He is still card. Still scored a 6th in DPI, so he must have got through a lot of cars before we went back to green. Meantime, in GTD Pro, Pfaff Motorsport, the Canadian car with the plaid colours, the driveway Motul car, still leading, and it was the Alex Riberas part of Racing Aston behind that I saw leave the pit lane in 2nd place, and then it's Jordan Taylor for Corvette. Behind then is the top 3 in GT Daytona. Heart of Racing after a double victory last weekend in lead position there, ahead of the number 1 Stars and Stripes Paul Miller BMW, Madison Snow behind the wheel there, Russell Ward in the silver and black. Winward Racing, cracking stuff at the front of both GTD Pro and GTD. Yeah, exactly as we expect. Charging back through as well. It looks like we've got the number 14 Ben Barnicat, Vassar Sullivan car coming to make up some positions as well. That yellow and black car coming onto the front straight now, just past a couple of vehicles, and now is sitting in behind the number 1 of Madison Snow. So Barnicat coming back through the GTD field. Jeremy.
Yeah, and that round of pit stops, there was really no change amongst the order at the front in GTD, because they came in the order 923, 327, and they left in that order as well. The loser, in fact, was number 14 car, which lost a whole bunch of positions, and now Ben Barnican is trying to regain that.
So still 2 hours and 10 minutes to go. And the WeatherTech Cooper McNeil driven Mercedes AMG GT4 holding on to its position at the moment ahead of Robbie Foley. They're not in the same classes, but there's GTD on it to be held. Great run from Aidan Reid and Rick Ware Racing, dragging up behind the yellow and blue of Robbie Foley, trying to go around the outside as they come to turn number 8. That was a brave manoeuvre, and Aidan Reid staying there and get the inside line for the next corner because it's a left-hander, and there's almost a touch there as they come into the final right-hander. Aidan tried to turn down on Robbie but didn't. Smart driving from both. Great racing from those two, Jeremy, in GT Daytona.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's as we expected. It's close in GTD, and the top 3 are still pretty closely matched there. The top 3 pro cars: Jamelin Riberas and Jordan Taylor, and then Roman DeAndres leads GTD regular by a massive 1.4 seconds actually on that lap, as they already go past some of the GTD cars here now. Okay, that's number 25 car that did serve its penalty, so I think it's back to being a lap down, isn't it?
It probably will be. Let me look at it and see where they come out on the circuit. John Edwards. No, I don't think so.
Oh, maybe.
It might just be on the end. They're 2 laps down to the overall leader, but I think they are still just on the lead lap in GTD Pro. I'll tell you in a sec. Yes, would be my answer to that. It's just been passed by the leading DPIs.
Correct.
Both of the cars involved in that lap 1, turn 1 incident have come out from behind the wall. So Lance Wilsley for the Sean Creech Motorsport, number 33, Ligier, he's back out, and Frank Montecalvo's just re-entered the racetrack. They've dropped a long way back. So it's just about getting some points for whatever position they get, and if anyone else has any ills today. The number 12, as it went past Shea Adam, she said to me, it looks like a shark is taking a bite out of the back of that car. So back out on the track, this car captured position. And IMSA Radio, if you'd like to get in touch with us, we're on 90.7 Canadian Tire Motorsport Park FM, Sirius XM 207, and around the world. IMSARadio.com is how you get in touch with us, or listen in to us for your friends away from the track. No blocks or breaks on the audio. IMSARadio.com. Hit listen live, and if you're outside of a territory that has network TV, our live world feed TV is also available on IMSARadio.com. Hit the live down in the pits. John Heiner from Jeremy Shaw in the Hagley Global Broadcast Centre, enjoying a cracking battle at the sharp end of the field as Tristan Fortier leads for JDC Miller Motorsports ahead of Alex Lynn in second for Cadillac Racing. The dark grey and gold number 5 crests the hill at turn 5. Turn 2, excuse me. The number 5 car and the 0-2 behind it, and here comes Tom Blomqvist. I'm sure stunned by the fact that he lost a couple of positions in that pit stop cycle, Jeremy.
Yeah, absolutely right. He'll be well expected to be hold up behind these 2 cars. That's definitely faster than can he find a way past. Last lap time for the race leader before he came into traffic was around about 1 minute 7 flat, 6.89 was the best that Tristan Fortier did in that little green flag run before they caught the traffic, whereas Blomqvist had been running about a second faster than that before the earlier interruption.
Hello to Laura, who says love to have IMSA racing back in Canada. Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, great circuit. And hello to Christina Nielsen as well, who's watching with interest in that GTD battle, getting in amongst the LMP3s as well. Hello Christina, hope you're fitting well. Say hi to your dad for us as well. About time we saw you back in our paddocks in IMSA or one of the other series that we follow. You are much missed. Champion race car driver, of course, Christina Nielsen, tuned in to us on the world feed. 2 hours and 6 minutes still to go. 48 from Alex Lynn, JDC from Cadillac Racing, 0-2. That is the Chip Ganassi run car. There's about a second, 1.2 seconds between them, a little bit less between second and third, and Tom Blomqvist is within half a second as they go down the Mario Andretti straight, which is not actually dead straight. There's a couple of little turns, kinks in it, but they're flat out, so the drivers think of it as a kink. Coming up to John Bennett in the Core Autosport car as that battle comes through the final corner and down the front straight. That's the number 54 car. Core Autosport's 4th place LMP3, and that was to the advantage of Alex Lynn, Jeremy, who got the better of that little exchange through traffic.
Yeah, it did, and meanwhile, Olivier Pla managed to get past Sebastian Bourdais around about that restart, so that's certainly not good news for Sebastian Bourdais, who continues to run 5th, just ahead of Philip Albuquerque, but as they work their way through the traffic, yes, it's really interesting, isn't it, this race, how it's developing already. Tristan Fortier, he did a good bit of defensive driving at the restart there. He's managed to keep Alex Lynn behind him. We'll see how long he can manage to do that. It's if you want to make things difficult for somebody behind you, this is a sort of track on which it is possible, because as you said before, there's not many proper straights here at the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Yeah, you're spot on there, Jeremy. Let's take VP Racing Fuels in-race update. We've talked about the DPIs. LMP2 is Riley Motorsport. Carl Robinson has just reset the fastest lap, and now Jarrett Andretti, who, remember, had to start at the back of that 6-car field, is up into 2nd place, and he has the fastest lap in LMP3. And the number 36, the black, white and green car, Ari Baylog for Junior 3 Racing is 3rd at number 30, then John Bennett in that number 54, and Ori Fadani for the yellow and black at number 13, AWA is in 5th. In GTD Pro, your top 3 are Porsche, Aston Martin and Chevrolet Corvette. Mathieu Jaminet, the number 9 plaid Porsche for Pfaff, just about a second ahead of the Heart of Racing dark grey car of Alex Ramirez, the 23 Aston Martin, and then the bright yellow Corvette, number 3. In GTD, Roman De Angelis, Canadian for the Heart of Racing team, it's in 1st position, but only just by about a second from Madison Stone. It's Russell Ward in the 57 Winward Racing car. That's the Mercedes. So plenty of variety in those top positions. You take the GT3 as a complete class. It's Porsche, Aston Martin, Corvette, Aston Martin, BMW, Lexus, Mercedes, Acura. So in the top 6 or 7, there are 6 different manufacturers in there. pretty good stuff and the kind of variety that we expect. Now, a moment or two ago, Jared Andretti getting squeezed between the car that he was trying to pass for the lead in class, and that was Ollie Pla going up the inside. Amazingly enough, 3 prototypes can get through turn 10 all at the same time. I'd have put money and bet against that one, Jeremy.
Yeah, you'd have lost. That was remarkable. A great pass there by Jared Andretti. Really opportunity to move, of course. He started at the back, having set the fastest time yesterday in qualifying by not very much, but had to go to the back of the grid with an unapproved part in the suspension on that car. I'm not quite sure exactly what that was. I haven't had a chance to find that out. But he certainly made short order before moving his way back through the fields and back into the lead then for Andretti Autosport. That's car number 36.
That's a good run back from them. Again, no suggestion that there was any attempt to game the system there. Possibly just something that wasn't homologated from the LMP3 parts category. And that is what post-race tech, post-qualifying tech is all about. Just coming down to the 2-hour mark, 45-minute drive time for the classes that matter. So anyone who hasn't had a pit stop yet in LMP3, which is pretty much everybody apart from Lance Wilson, who's been behind the wall for quite a while in that Sean Creech Motorsport machine. He's got 14 laps that he hasn't been out on the track, so that's what, round about 20 minutes or thereabouts, 18, 19 minutes that he hasn't been out on the track of the 39 minutes and 15 seconds that we've been green since the original green. So anyone else? It's got about 5 minutes to go before they can change their driver legally and have them at their minimum drive time. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us, busy weekend of sport. Thank you to those of you who tuned in for the Innovative Mazda MX-5. 2 cracking races down at Road America this weekend. If you haven't seen that, check out the Mazda MX-5 YouTube channel or the MX-5 Cup Championship page. World Wide Web. Stonking races around that 4 mile, and we've still got to go there ourselves later on. August, first weekend in August, Road America. Between now and then, we've got Lime Rock as well, of course. The longest and the shortest races on racetracks on our calendar. They're all covered here on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. Under the 2-hour mark to go. Tristan Fortier now by half a second from Alex Lynn. And Jeremy Shaw, you were spot on. Tom Blomqvist is there, but he has not been able to make any meaningful dive or challenge on either of those Cadillacs yet.
He hasn't, has he? He certainly hasn't got close to who he has the pace in that car, but he doesn't have what it takes to get past, at least at this stage. Long way to go. Of course, as you say, 2 hours still remaining in this race, and at least 2 more pit stops for the contenders up front. So, you know, there's plenty of time for something to happen here, but it's clearly not easy to make an overtake amongst the DPI class, even when you're so much quicker than everybody else, like Tom Blomqvist.
Jared Andretti now in the lead of LMP3 after that manoeuvre at the final corner. Resets the fastest lap in LMP3 at 1:14.423 last time around, and all of a sudden that number 36 car, Jeremy, has pulled out a second lead on the rest of the field. It's been a really good drive in this first stanza for Jared Andretti and Andretti Motorsports. I know there's only 6 cars there, but it's been fraught, it's been difficult, there's been plenty going on around him, and he's picked his way through to the front of the class and is now driving away.
Yeah, he's done well, hasn't he? And you know, Carl Robinson doing his best to hang on in there, but at the moment Jared Andretti has set the fastest lap in that class. And is edging away, as you say, from Carl Robinson in second place. Harry Baylock doing a nice job too in third, hanging in. He's about 7 seconds behind that leading pair.
So only one driver change, and that was in the number 10, Philippe Albuquerque, taking over from his teammate Ricky Taylor. right in saying that the DPIs effectively don't have a drive time,
Yeah, it's minimum.
I think it's 10 minutes, isn't it? Yeah, Shay's just said that in my ear. So effectively they were outside of that. So basically they've just got that done and out of the way. They reckon they had nothing to lose because they knew they were going to get back on the end of the line there, and they're only 5 seconds away from the race lead at the moment. So smart work from Cunningham and Alder Acura and Wayne Taylor Racing Team.
Indeed so, and Olivier Plava hanging with Tom Blomqvist now. The second, third, fourth place cars pretty close to get on the racetrack as they just work their way through most of the GTD field. GTD field now, so they're going to be clear for a few laps here. But Olivier Pla, lap number 31 car, is hanging on to the tail of Tom Blomqvist.
Jeremy, I think we'll be having pit stops at the front of the field shortly. Tristan Fortier has been out there for 22 laps. Of course, we have had some safety car in that, coming round to, 45 minutes, which is about where we expect. This is a lot of full throttle around this place. I would think 45 minutes without any yellow would be about as much as we see. Looks like they're going through this time around though for another one.
Yeah, I think running absolutely flat out, maybe 40 minutes, and running on some fuel save, maybe 47 minutes. So I would expect steep lengths somewhere between 36 and 40 laps for the prototypes. So they've already been in. They came in on lap 12, so it's going to be a while yet before we see anybody into the schedule.
Yes, indeed so. Just a reminder that that number 5 is the only one of the DPIs that did not come down the pit lane some 10 laps ago for that splash of fuel. Everybody else did 12 laps or 11 laps at the start of the start of the race. The slight outlier is the Cunningham and Acura because of that additional couple of stops down the pit lane, or additional couple of runs down the pit lane. One for the emergency service for the fuel, then they had to come back in again when they changed to Philippe Albuquerque. So Philippe's actually only been out there 9 laps, whereas, as I say, Tristan Fortier and now on his 24th lap, everyone else on their 11th. A big chunk of yellow right in the middle of that, which was 8 laps, or if you prefer, in time, that was some 16 minutes or thereabouts of yellow. So let's keep an eye on what that does to the strategy for JDC Miller Motorsports. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us, thank you for those of you who are tuned in around the world. 90.7 FM here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Sirius XM 207 tends to be our standard channel for all of our WeatherTech broadcasts, all of the races live flag to flag on Sirius XM. Here come the LMPs, and it's the leaders, and Gar Robinson comes back into the pits first, just having nipped back past Jared Andretti. Shea Adam is watching the pit stops.
Fuel tires and driver change for both the 74 and the 36. So both of the cars that came in from the lead. For Riley, it is Scott Andrews taking over. For Andretti, it is an Andretti out, and it is Gabby Chavez taking over, the number 30, which came into the last race as the points leader. Well, Junior 3 is still well and truly in it. Ari Baylog is out, and that is Garrett Griss, Canadian hero, who has climbed aboard. 54 is currently the leader as far as the championship is concerned. That is Core Autosport. John Bennett out and Colin Brown in. They won this race overall a few years ago. All right, we got cars rolling off once again. Scott Andrews first to get rolling. Gabby Chavez hot on his heels, and then the next one to go should be that 30 of Junior 3. Garrett Griss should be out on the track, but everybody take a half step back from the fences because Colin Brown is about to go out on the circuit.
Yeah, stand by for some lap records of Scott Andrews, who hit the pit out marker first of all for Riley Motorsport, then Gabby Chavez. Waiting to see who comes out next. It will be, I'm still waiting, the timing hasn't updated yet. And also in Shea, you've got the 79 WeatherTech, number 79 WeatherTech AMG in the pit lane.
Yep, Daniel Ucadella taking over for Cooper McNeil. 4 new Michelin tires going on this car as well. And the other car of significance on the pit lane, AWA and their number 13 Duquesne. Now, you might have remembered at Watkins Glen, it was completely destroyed. Same car, same chassis. They were able to rebuild it. And it is Canadian, again, hometown hero, Kyle Barcelli taking over. Daniel Ucadella roars the Mercedes back into life, and that car is now gone. We are expecting the 5 JDC Miller Motorsports Cadillac to come in here any minute now. That will be a drinks bottle change and 4 tires for Tristan Vautier. They are saving the Westie for a bit later in the race.
Jude Westbrook then being held back. So that was, Jeremy, I'm presuming we were just over the 45 minutes. Yes, we were, when those P3s came into the race. They certainly didn't. I would have thought they didn't actually need fuel at that point in the race.
Absolutely correct on both counts, yes. So they've met the minimum drive time. All 5 cars that remain there untroubled. Number 33 car, of course, many laps down after the incident on the first corner. But the other 5 all running exactly the same strategy. So now the pro drivers have taken over, and that could have been a really crucial pass there for Gar Robinson on that in-lap to get past Jared Andretti.
So the leaders charge up the hill at turn 3, and it's still Tristan Vautier by about half a second from Alex Lynn, who's got about half a second from Tom Blomqvist. These 3 battling it out at the front of the field. They're not door handled, but my goodness, they're still fighting it out. And under braking at turn 5, Moss Corner, Alex Lynn closes right in on the leader of the race. Pla in 4th place is about a second and a half further back, and Sebastian Bourdais about a second and a half back from Ollie Pla. So that's really interesting. Bourdais not able to move forward. We'll discuss that in a moment after Shea Adam has spoken to the driver who came from 6th to the lead in LMP3 in that opening part of the race. From Andretti Motorsport to the number 36 car in the LMP3 category is Jared Andretti.
Jared, clearly you're comfortable in the car with the track, driving up through the field. Do you feel like Gabby has the machine underneath him, though, to maintain that lead?
Yeah, I don't know at the moment how good we really are. We've been in traffic basically the whole time. I mean, even when we weren't in traffic, there was lap traffic in front of us. So I'm not sure what our clean air pace is or what it's going to be. So yeah, I'll be interested to see what Gabby runs, and I think he's going to get some chances here in traffic to hopefully to get it back here.
Were you disappointed to lose the pole position? Because it didn't really matter at the end of the stint.
Well, yeah, you are. You're disappointed for everybody that works so hard, and you did the lap, and it's like, if you would have known that was going to happen, you would have not put you through that kind of 15 minutes of hell to try to get the lap. So all in all, though, a good day. Nobody touched it. Nobody touched anybody. So I feel pretty good about it.
What's the strategy for the rest of the race?
Just have Gabby go as fast as he can, and hopefully we get some brakes right strategy-wise to make it happen.
Love it. Good luck, Jared.
Thanks, guys.
There you go. Jared Andretti fought his way through there. And here is the leader of the race. Was the leader as he came in. That's Tristan Vautier, already drops to the back of DPI. Remember, has not splashed for fuel yet, so this will be a long fuel stop. They might as well put a new set of Michelin tyres on. Alex Lynn has assumed the lead in the 02 Cadillac. Shea Adam is leading and watching this one. That's no driver change that I can see, Shea. Just a new Jinx bottle and 4 new Michelins.
Yep, correct. Rich Westbrook still sitting with his fire suit down. He is not being employed into this race as of yet. Tristan Vautier revving the engine. I love the sound of that Cadillac. And away he goes. And I wonder what they put in that drinks bottle. Maybe it was a bit of Gatorade or something, because it certainly wasn't water the way that Tristan's been driving today.
Yeah, well, he's going to need to fight back from here. They're playing the strategy card. That was 28 laps, 51 minutes or thereabouts. Let's call it 50 minutes when he came into the pit lane with a little bit of yellow in the middle of that, Jeremy. He's still got an hour and 48 to go. No, he's not going to be able to do it on one more stop. It's going to be one more to splash, isn't it, for that car?
2 more for sure,
yeah.
From here. But yeah, the interesting thing now is to watch his pace. He's got fresh tyres on that car. How fast can he go before the other leaders come in and make their pit stops, and can Alex Lynn go much faster than Tristan Vautier was running before he made that pit stop? So those are things we're going to have to keep our eye on over the next few laps.
Turner Motorsport, Robbie Forley, struggling to keep pace with the leaders. You've seen a tweet from Turner Motorsport. Car, but he's not keeping pace at the moment, Jeremy, which is unusual for that BMW.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And we're not used to seeing that for sure. It has been a bit of a struggle this weekend. We qualified back in the 5th out of 6 in GTD, and yeah, it's not been the usual pace for that car at this track. Of course, the BMWs this weekend are carrying a little bit more weight. There are a few smallish balance of performance tweaks coming into this weekend. The BMWs and the Aston Martins both carry an extra 20 kilos compared to what they were at Watkins Glen last week. 20 kilos.
Sorry, go ahead.
20 kilos is a chunk, but of course the other two BMWs in this race are both running reasonably well. Madison Snow running second at GTD, right behind Roman D'Angelo still, and within half a second of him. And the other BMW is still 25 now. That's been fast, but unfortunately, of course, had that problem early on.
Yes, odd that car should be struggling and the other two aren't, but we'll keep an eye on that. Wonder if he's doing a bit of fuel saving, although we've had a bit of yellow. Bill Oberlin is suited on pit lane, I'm being told, so not sure what sort of tactics might be going on. It's been Robbie from the start of the race. He's done 28 laps since the start of the race. He's done more than that. So they are working at the moment on their 37th lap. They should be able to do 50 minutes, those cars, GTTs.
Oh no, they can do an hour.
All right.
They can do an hour.
55 minutes, but a chunk of yellow in that has elapsed. An hour and 45 minutes still to run. Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhaugh in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre, talking to you on Sirius XM 207, 90.7 FM here at the track, around the world at IMSARadio.com. Sound and vision there, actually. Hit the listen live button and select RS2 on the player. If you've got a bit more bandwidth and you're in a territory that doesn't have a network TV deal for the pictures, hit the live video button on the top left and you can see the same pictures as we do here in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Shea Adam is down in the pit lane. We'll get some words with some more drivers as they get swapped out, and Shea staring at the guys on the pit wall, trying to work out if they're telling her the truth when she asks towards the end of the race how much fuel they've got. That's all still to come, all of that excitement. And Michelin post-race tech as well. We'll round up the IMSA weekend here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park with your questions, points arising, anything that you've noticed, observations. And that's exclusively on RS2 IMSA Radio once we've finished up with the international TV broadcast. Hashtag Michelin PRT at IMSA Radio on Twitter. Your thoughts. If not, make sure you make a note of it and come back to it later, because if you're anything like me, by the time we get into the last 15-20 minutes of the race, I'll have forgotten what's happened right at the very beginning. Stirrings on the wall of the pit lane.
Yeah, it was not before the leaders were in. Alex Lynn, by the way, is going significantly faster than was Tristan Vautier when he was leading this race. Vautier was doing basically low 1.7s on a regular basis, Alex Lynn, his last lap of 1 minute 6.54. He's done a bunch of 6.6s as well, so he's going quite a bit faster. And as a result of that, he's edged away now from Tom Blomqvist. 1.6 seconds between the first two cars, and then another 2.7 margin with the Plat in third place, a similar margin back to Bourdais in fourth. So all of a sudden, over the course of the last 4 or 5 laps, since the number 02 car was given clean air, those leaders have stretched out.
Yeah, they really have. Great battle going on in GT Daytona with the Ben Barnican, number 14, just passing Madison Snow. Now they're in different categories, and here is the start of the Tpi Pit Stops. The guys who did stop at the last yellow flag, the first yellow flag, and it's the Whelen Engineering 31-inch. Shea Adam is watching the pit stop.
Olivier Pla out, Pipo Derani in. Olivier, who won this race back in 2014 in very different race cars. I definitely want to get a word with him as soon as he's taking his helmet off. But that was fuel tires and Pipo. And a couple of boxes further up, we've got Renger Van de Zand on the wall. So when the 01 Cadillac comes in to make its pit stop, we're going to have Renger out on the track. Ooh.
Yeah, take another step back. There goes Pipo Derani out of the pit lane in that number 31. Across the line then, Tristan Fournier, remember he made his pit stop, what, 3 or 4 laps ago, and that just put him slightly off kilter. He didn't stop on that first full course caution. Having just taken the 18th position, Ben Barnicat is in brand new Michelin tyres. Going on to the number 14 Sailmaster yellow and black Lexus. Taking a little bit of time to get the front right on, but that's all right. The fuel hose is still in. 24 seconds, 25. Still that front wheel not on, and the fuel hose is out. Now that is costing them time now. The nozzle is off. That was 4-5 seconds that it cost them there. Barnicourt staying behind the wheel. Yes, he is. That is his helmet as he comes out towards the RFID readers that reads the active chips in the Michelin tyres, and rejoins, but that was a tad longer than it really needed to be. Meantime, whilst that was happening, an outside pass at turn 3, thank you very much indeed, and Tom Blomqvist made up a position there and has taken the lead from Alex Lynn as they were in traffic behind Madison Snow in the number 1 car, who has just dived into the pits from 2nd position in the GT Daytona, category. But at the front of the field, Jeremy Shaw, we have a new leader in DPI and stops in the pit lane. Let's go to Shea first, and then we'll watch what's happening at the front of the field. Shea?
I was not expecting this. For Koenig Minolta Racing, they are putting Philippe Albuquerque out of the car, putting Ricky Taylor back into it. They are doing 4 tires and fuel with that one. As we expected, Renger Van de Zand is into the 01 machine, that Cadillac, but he's going to have to yield to Brian Sellers, who is now aboard the Paul Miller Racing BMW, and very nearly a crash as Ricky goes to exit the pit lane and dives in front of the BMW. That is not proper protocol for exiting the pits. You are supposed to give way to the car that is already in the fast lane. That could be a penalty for Ricky for not behaving in the proper protocol.
The problem was there, if he'd yielded to that BMW, he would have also lost position to the DPI in behind it. Out from the lead then, here comes the number 60, Tom Blomqvist in the pit lane. Super manoeuvre, Jeremy, to take the lead a lap or 2 ago, round the outside at turn 3. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, that was a really opportune manoeuvre by Blomqvist here, and it's how quick can this pit stop be? It's got to be a good one. He hands over that car to Oliver Jarvis, and that pass could be critical. Needs to be a good stop now there. The first stop wasn't too good. They had a problem with the wheel gun we heard from pit lane. This one has got to be perfect.
Looks like it's already done. Driver aboard. Alex Lynn then has gone to the front of the field in the 02, side by side at turn 8. These are the 2 cars who've just come out of the pit lane. That's Ricky Taylor in the Koenig Minolta Cadillac, and down the inside in the final corner, and the 01 and Renger Van de Zand, they were on their outlaps there as they crossed the line. My goodness me, that was very tight indeed. An hour and 38 minutes to go. And that was Renger Van de Zand saying, no, I'm having this one back. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, and way off the track at the bottom of turn 2 onto the paved area. Wouldn't have been able to do that a few years ago, Jeremy. It was grass down there. That would have been a big moment.
At best, it would have been a big moment. You're absolutely right. But no harm, no foul there. I think as long as he didn't gain an advantage over the 10 car, that'll be okay. But yeah, that was a big moment, certainly for Rego van der Zande, wasn't it? Ooh, that was close.
Damage on the rear left of the Koenig Minolta car as well. The rear deck isn't quite fitted together. I'm not sure he's going to get away with that, because he very nearly drove into the number 1 Paul Miller Racing BMW. Sean Creech Motorsport off the track at the middle part of turn 1, backed it into the wall by the look of it. Lance Wilsey, turn 1, not his favourite corner, I would think. He's got it going again. More damage to this time to the rear bodywork from the lead. Alex Lynn comes into the pit lane. We'll watch that stop as he comes in from the lead, as Philippe Albuquerque talked to Shea Adam. And we've got to talk strategy here, Shea. What's going on at Koenig Minolta?
Philippe, every time that you've done a pit stop, it's been a driver change. Is that going to continue through the rest of the race?
No, not really. So I just went in to go on, and I just behind the 0-1. I could not really go, and then I mean, I said honestly, no egos in this team, and I think Ricky is just doing a better job. He's going really fast. So I just said, look, if you want to put Ricky, which I think is a bit stronger than me today, I mean, feel free. I mean, I can go to the end. So then just we put Ricky on, and let's see what he can do.
It's that kind of driving that ultimately wins championships. No ego in this team. What happened with the tire in Ricky's first stint?
We don't know. It's just like just completely blew up, and maybe it was a debris. We don't know. But the most weird thing, it was the rear wide, which is a tire with less load. So we were surprised. So we just need to address. Now we're almost last, so we need to see what the race brings us.
What needs to happen to get you guys back into this race?
I don't know, just pushing hard, really, really hard. Obviously, we are fighting other guys that, especially the Ganassis, they're pushing hard. They know that they cannot be behind us. Yeah, it's going to be a hard fight to catch now the 60, but we never know. I mean, we had a puncture. It can happen to anybody there.
Good luck the rest of the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, you've got to think championship at this point. Debris on the circuit at the bottom of turn 2, and it's a fairly substantial piece of, I think, the 0-1 car from Rego van der Zande, who was battling with his teammate, the 0-2 of Earl Bamber, as Earl came out of the pits following his last stop. Earl has dropped into second place, into third place, excuse me, as Ollie Jarvis has taken the lead, having taken over from Tom Blomqvist in the Meyershank Racing Kermack and Janie. That was the Paul sitting car, remember. 2 Chip Ganassi Cadillacs very close together as Earl came over the top of turn 2 on his outlap, and they're desperately trying to keep Ricky Taylor behind him. So that's Earl Bamber in Rego van der Zande in the 0-1, Earl Bamber in the 0-2, and now Ricky Taylor, Jeremy, back in the number 10. Interesting strategy again from the Wayne Taylor Racing team.
Yeah, it really is. It's certainly no one expected that one, I think. But I mean, those two are closely matched, and there really isn't much ego between those two. Two really good guys, Ricky Taylor and Philippe Albuquerque. They're both fast, but if Philippe reckons that Ricky is better place to do a better job here today, then what the heck, go for it. That's what they've done. And that pass by Tom Blomqvist right before that pit stop, absolutely critical, because now Rego Jarvis has got 2 on track, and he's pulling away a little bit. Having said that, Rego van der Zande just turned the 0-1 car's fastest lap of the race in the 2nd position. So by staying out a couple of laps longer, that 0-1 car has gained position over, well, the 31 has fallen back a couple of positions now, Pipo Derong. So coming in early did not work out for that number 31 car. It's dropped from 3rd to 5th.
Hello to Gareth Evans, tuned in from his workshop again for brilliant model making. They're back in the UK at IMSA Radio. That's already watching or listening to for the last 93 minutes of race. As I say, just under 93 minutes still to go. And it's Ollie Jarvis by only 0.6 of a second as he comes to the final corner. A string of second place finishes that they need to break, Jeremy. They need to get this second place monkey off their back here. So close in all of the previous 4 races to the top step of the box. And you've got to wonder whether that's starting to get to them now. It was real desperation and desolation from Ollie Jarvis when his teammate Tom Blomqvist was passed twice, once at the start of the race and once at the end of the race on the restart at Watkins Glen that cost them the victory.
True that, but it was a strategy in terms of the aerodynamic setup that was a critical factor there. No harm on Tom Blomqvist. He did absolutely everything he could do. He held his line into the inner loop at Watkins Glen, but the number 10 car just had more straight line speed. And there was stout contact between the two of them, but thankfully the cars were undamaged.
Oh, side by side again for the lead into turn number 8. This is an audacious manoeuvre from Renger van der Zande. He tried to go around the left-hand side, the outside of turn 8. Got a really good run from Moss Corner. And again, straight line speed seeming to be an issue for that Meerschacht Racing number 60. Not sure who gets the say in how that car is set up, Jeremy. And the Tom Blomqvist likes a little bit more downforce, but it's certainly does not seem to have the straight line performance of either the other Acura, certainly last weekend, and here in particular it looks like Van der Zande is right there down that long back straight.
We talk about drivers being on form on a particular day. Today wasn't so bad, but today's been the best day by a long way. And it was yesterday actually in qualifying. He really struggled with that car yesterday and today, but Renger van der Zande clearly is fired up, and right away he's gone quicker than Sebastian did, and he is a man on a mission right now. He's looking to take advantage of any traffic opportunities that might present themselves, but he is super fast. Look him charging around the outside of that Lexus to just make sure he stays onto the tail of Oliver Jarvis and keeps the pressure right on the Englishman.
Warning for the number 14 Lexus team, Ben Barnican's behind the wheel. Real rotation while up on the jacks. They've only got a warning for that. That's very, very lucky. Out caution keys to the race. Can't afford any penalties assessed either on the track or on the pit lane. Ollie Jarvis, our leader, dives to the inside of the AWA number 13. Carl Marcelli for the Duquesne, the only Duquesne in the LMP3 field. Used to be known as a Norma, of course. The rest of the cars are Ligiers. There's a choice of 5 chassis in LMP3. It does seem to be that the Ligier GSP 320 is the weapon of choice. We have seen the manufacturers in the IMSA Prototype Challenge in particular. So Jarvis then has eked out to almost 3/4 of a second and gets the best of the traffic again coming round. And now Renger van der Zande has a bit of company, Jeremy. It's his teammate Earl Bamber who's transitioned over to this Cadillac team in the last few races. Very well indeed. Came on board at the end of last season. And he's really found a home here with the Chip Ganassi run team.
Yeah, that's very true. And both Ganassi cars, they're tracking that Acura in the lead. Just maybe 10-12 car lengths between each of the 3 of them as they complete their 54th lap around here. We're now an hour and 11 minutes into the race. There's still just under an hour and a half remaining. So long time yet.
Pete Durrani should be the next. Pete Durrani should be the next of the leaders in lane with 31.
Long time yet.
Has he just been enjoying?
Yeah, well, he been on lap 43, so he's done 11 laps.
Oh, excuse me.
Since his last stop. But he was, apart from number 5 car, that was the that came into the pits on that latest sequence.
really help if I scrolled all the way across to the
And it
right-hand
really-
side of that.
It really messed up the number 5 car who's taking the lead. It's now running back in the 6th position. And Tristan Gauthier appears to be falling back just a little bit, not by much, but slipping back a little bit one people around me. Who's in fifth.
15 seconds away from the lead car, Ollie Jarvis. Take a look at that GTD Pro Park that Jeremy was mentioning as a bit across the line. Still Mathieu Jaminet for FAF Motorsports. Mathieu and his teammate Matty Campbell named as Porsche factory drivers for the new 963 prototype programme. Parallel programmes for Porsche, Team Penske here in IMSA and in the FIA World Endurance Championship. 2 cars in each of those starting next year. The new livery is absolutely superb if you haven't seen it and want to know a few more details. Race Car Engineering has all of the details on that. That's available online as well. Cracking job once again with this month's issue. So it's Jaminet, Perez, Jordan Taylor. That's 3 different manufacturers of Porsche. It's a rear engine flat 6 of course. GT3, new GT3 coming from Porsche. 992 body shape. Seen the first proper pictures of that, looks fantastic. Front engine V8 Aston Martin and then mid-engine V8 Corvette. So 3 different manufacturers and 3 very different configurations of cars at the front of GTD Pro. And Roman De Angelis leads GT Daytona for Harley Racing in the number 27 car. He's actually not that far off the pro cars at the moment, Jeremy.
No, absolutely right. I mean, the top 4 cars, 3 GTD Pros and the GTD leader, Roman De Angelis, pretty much nose to tail at the front of that little pack. They're just going into turn 1 right now. Nothing to choose between them at all. And only a couple of seconds behind them is Aidan Reed in that, in the number 51 car for Whitware Racing.
That is an absolutely stunning run from Aidan. It's a great story for Aidan, isn't it, Jeremy? Because he sort of almost pulls double duty because, yes, he's a race car driver, but he's qualified in other things as well.
Yeah, and he's a full-time employee at Whitware Racing. He's missing the weekend, the NASCAR weekend this week because of his racing here himself. But yeah, he's a regular engineer on the NASCAR teams for Whitware Racing. Fully qualified through college, of course, as well.
Yeah, smashing story. He's getting quicker and quicker in that car. Still Riley Motorsports leading in LMP3 with Scott Andrews behind the wheel.
Yeah, and he's managed to pull away a bit, has Scott Andrews over Gabby Sharp. Well, he had done, so the gaps all of a sudden come down on that last lap. I'm not quite sure what happened to Scott Andrews on that last lap, because all of a sudden he lost a couple of seconds. It was 1:16.3 last time around for Scott. The gap was 4.5 seconds. It's now been halved to Gabby Sharpers. Colin Brown, he's about 10 seconds farther back in 3rd position. That gap is remaining pretty much constant. And then about 15, 16 seconds back to Garrett Grist, who is probably the quickest car on track at the moment in LMP3.
Yeah, Scott Andrews and Colin Brown at the start of their respective stints were trading fastest laps in that LMP3 category. Scott finally captured a 12.877. Next lap of the race so far, a 1:05.9. That was by the number 60 car. I think that was Tom Blomqvist who set that. And in terms of the GT category, it's Whitware Racing with a 1:17.0, the number 57 car in GT Daytona, and a 16.6 for the Vassar Sullivan Barnicat Lexus RCF GT3, the number 14. Those are the fastest laps that have been set in the race so far. That's quite a pace being set by all 4 categories at the moment. Still this battle in the field with 2 Giovinazzi Run Cadillacs tracking Ollie Jarvis, who once again is doing what Ollie Jarvis does. He jumps in, drives the car, excellent development driver as well. In GTD Pro Is there an opportunity for challenge here? Turn 2. Now down into turn bottom of the hill and aiming for turn 3. Close racing right throughout the circuit at the moment. I thought for a moment Jordan Taylor was within striking distance of Alex Riveros. I don't think he is. But Earl Bamber is gaining on his teammate as they go down to the end of the Andretti straight. He moves to the right-hand side. Shaped to go through there, and the door for a moment was opened by Renger van der Zande. But discretion, the better part of valor by his teammate Earl Bamber behind. First rule of racing, don't take your teammate out. Wonder if that had been the last lap of the race in the car, whether Earl might have just released the brake a little bit earlier there and slid into the apex of turn 8. Not the time to do that, Jeremy, with an hour and 22 still to go.
No, that's right. Last lap of the race probably would have done, wouldn't he? But top three cars now, absolutely nose to tail once again. Oliver Jarvis has just been pretty cagey, I feel, at this stage in the race. He doesn't want to overextend himself, doesn't want to make any rash moves to get past traffic. He's quite happy to maintain his position there in the lead, but he wants to. He's got Renger van der Zande, who you see how fired up he is, looking to make a pass, and I think he's got to run as they come up the hill.
Yeah, looks for the lead. Bamber sitting in third position. It's going to be a hard pass around the outside. Will the Lexus play a part here as they get to it? Ollie Jarvis dives to the inside. Really decisive driving by the Englishman there. Now he's got the Winward Racing AMG, which he carves through again. No, absolutely no doubt left in the mind of the GT driver what was going on there. Went for the line, showed the nose of the car from the way back and got through. Super driving by the leader, who hits all of this traffic first, of course, and that's the potential danger. And yet after all of that, I think he's come out with a bit of an extended lead. Ollie Jarvis driving brilliantly, Jeremy, through the traffic.
Yeah, there's no respite here, is it? It's a very fast lap. I mean, your total concentration here is required, and they work their way past the number 1 car coming up the hill, and Jarvis has just got just about enough straight line speed to hold on against the Cadillac, but it seems to be nip and tuck between those twos, and he just caught the Lexus there of, I think that was Ben Barnicott's car, at just the right time in order to be able to dive down the inside, and that gave him just a little bit of a margin over the 2 Cadillacs behind him. But this is going to be ebb and flow throughout the rest of the race. We've still got, we're almost exactly halfway through the race.
We started off with 2 hours and 40, and in 8 seconds we'll be at exactly half distance. Starting lap number 63. Ollie Jarvis driven number 16 by Shank Racing with Kerb Agajanian, streaking off to a 1.2 second gap. It's been sitting around the 5 or 6 tenths mark for such a long time. Using the traffic to his advantage there. Now has a bit of clear track. The next car that we have to go by is the number 51 Aidan Reed, Rickware Racing Acura, and that's just going into turn 9 now as Ollie's halfway down Mario Andretti straight. Great battling at the front of the field. I know they're not side by side all the time, Jeremy. I know they're not door to door, same as in the GT Team Club, but everybody here is absolutely wringing the necks of these cars. You can see by the attitude of the cars on the track.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Just the flow of this track, it's left and it's right. These are long, sweeping corners with huge G-loadings. It's really physically demanding around here, and it's mentally taxing as well, because you've got to pay attention not only to cars that you are passing, but perhaps if you're in one of the GTD cars, certainly, perhaps, definitely, on cars that come in behind you as well. So there's absolutely hardly any moment to relax. I mean, the longest straight bit on the track is, even the longest really coming up the hill towards turn 8, but even that you've got a blind crest to deal with as well. So, you know, it's a challenge on here, and that's why the drivers love coming to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Circuit has barely changed since the early 1960s when it was laid down. Former Formula 1 and top-level MotoGP star venue as well. The great Pan Am races around here as well. And, notorious in Grand Prix history, of course, for the first deployment of a safety car. Still are that race.
Yeah, very true.
For many years now, being the home of top flight endurance sports car racing in Canada with the American Le Mans Series, and in more recent years the latest iteration of IMSA. Beautiful part of the world, by the way, those of you who aren't here. It's not often a track that's people mention to me for their bucket list, and it's always one I try to mention to people because it is something a little bit different and it's properly old school here. Can walk around the circuit as well. Good access, great sight lines for pro or semi-pro or just hobby photographers. And the area just north of Toronto, absolutely beautiful. Lovely place to come for a few days.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it's a beautiful part of the world, isn't it? Particularly when the weather's like this. Absolutely beautiful summer's day here in Ontario. Lots to see here from here. We can see the lake, maybe glimpses every now and again. It's about 20 miles away perhaps to Lake Ontario, but you know, it's wooded scenery around here primarily, but just a gorgeous part of the world. Some really fun places to go visit.
Live on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV around the circuit on 90.7 FM, Sirius 207. And of course, IMSA Radio via IMSARadio.com. We've got the international TV as well, the World Feed TV. At IMSARadio.com and click live video top left. If you can't get that because you've got the network TV deal in your territory, you can always listen to the audio via Listen Live on the right hand side at the top of the homepage. If you're in the US, it's NBC for the pictures. This weekend, it's still an hour and 15 minutes to go. That sees Ollie Jarvis leading by a second and a half as he crosses the line and charges down to turn one. Number 60, Maya Shank Acura, then ahead of Renger van der Zande for Cadillac. And 0-1, his teammate El Baba, the 0-2 in third for the two Chip Ganassi run cars. In LMP3, it's Riley Motorsports that leads in the 74. Carl Robinson is handed over to Scott Andrews. Gabby Chavez is about 4 seconds further back from Andretti Motorsport 46 car, which has led the race. 54 in third is Colin Brown now from Ford Motorsport. He's about another 8 seconds further back. GDT Pro, Porsche from FAF, number 9 with Mathieu Jaminet by half a second from Corvette Racing. Roman De Angelis charging up for Harbour Racing Team. He's the third GT car and leads GT Daytona ahead of Alex Riveros, his teammate, who's third in GTD Pro. Second in the GTD class is Ian Green. Great run for Rick Ware Racing in that Acura NSX GT3. And in third position in that category, Phil Ellis for Winwood Racing. That's your VP Racing Fuel in-race update with an hour and 14 minutes to go.
Yeah, so there was actually a shuffle of positions there in GTD. I think on that last lap, John, with Jordan Taylor moving up into second place, and Alex Riveras falling from second down to, well, not only third in class, but also behind his teammate Roman De Angelis. The order up until the previous lap has been 9:23, 3:27. Now it's 9:3, 27, 23, and closing in on both on all of those little group is Aidan Reed in that Rick Ware Racing Acura as well. So it's game on. Well, it's been game on all the way through. But it's a Corvette now up into second place in this Chevrolet Grand Prix. Tell you what, the big loser in Tpi at the moment is Tristan Vautier, who's really struggling in car number 5. He's fallen. He's 17 seconds now behind Peter Durrani, and he's slipping back by, well, at best half a second a lap.
Expecting that car in shortly, Jeremy, that number 5 car. They didn't come in with everybody else, hoping maybe for another yellow. Didn't fall their way, and that was the start of their wars, really. But Tristan's dropped up 25 seconds away from the leader. So they've whatever they've done, whatever changes they've made, whether it's a tyre pressure adjustment or whatever, hasn't worked for them in this stint, has it? So maybe, still look, they've still got over an hour and 10 minutes. They're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. They could still pull either a bit of strategy or grab a late yellow, but they need to get the pace back into that car that they showed earlier on, because they were genuinely sitting up there in the top three at the start of the race.
Yeah, and then and led for quite a while there, having not made that first pit stop. But since then, it's all gone very, very wrong for that number 5 team. And Tristan Vautier qualified yesterday in the 3rd position. That's the best qualifying run for that car since Daytona. But unfortunately, not able to take advantage of it.
Hello to Stephen Gardner. He's complaining that I'm pronouncing too many T's when I mention the major conurbation that is just to the south here. I'm sorry, I do know that it is Toronto. We have the same with D's where I come from, and it's Sunderland, not Sunderland, it's Sunderland for people where I go, so I know it's Toronto. Sorry, Stephen. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us to correct any more of my pronunciation, or maybe ask a question or make a point that you have noticed in this race or something else over the weekend, we've got Michelin post-race tech coming up on IMSA Radio after the checkered flag, which ends the race but only starts the conversation. Hashtag Michelin PRT at IMSA Radio if you'd like to get in touch. Ruddy Digital says, I missed the start of the race, sorry. Yeah, do you have a note? You really do have to have a note. It's like having a hall pass. Has Camry already driven the number 14? He has not. It's been Ben Barnicoat, Jeremy, in from the beginning of that Vassar Sullivan Lexus RCF GT3.
That's exactly right. Jack Hawkes is still not fully recovered for the injuries suffered in a motorbike accident. So this weekend with Carl Kirkwood committed to the NTT IndyCar Series race at Mid-Ohio, they're looking for an extra driver. And exactly, absolutely, thank you very much. And because I have no idea what happened there. He did qualify with the Carl Kirkwood. And yeah, Kobe Asher, because he was at Watkins Glen last weekend driving the prototype for the Ally Cadillac team, and so he was in the area. He's a Toyota family driver, of course, in the case. So he jumped at the opportunity to come here to Canadian Tire Motorsport for the first time. So we're going to see him in action in a little while. It won't be long, actually, before he's at the wheel of that car.
Yeah. He only has to make a 45-minute minimum drive time into the pit lane out of that great battle at the head of the GTs. Here comes Roman De Angelis from the lead of GT Daytona. I expect him to leave the car. This means that Aidan Reid has scored as the leader for Rick Ware Racing. Brilliant run to the front of class by the Acura. Shea Adam has the Aston Martin.
I'm not sure if Rick Ware is going to stay out and lead it or not, because the clipboard is also down, but Roman De Angelis is out of the Aston Martin. Maxime Martin has gotten in, and yes, Rick Ware Racing has stayed out for one more lap. We've also got the 0-1. Renger is in the Cadillac for Chip Ganassi Racing. 4 new tires for Renger, 4 new tires of fuel for Maxime. It should be a longer stop for Maxime. Actually, no, they've been in the pit lane for about the same amount of time. There we go. Renger leaves after 23 seconds worth of fuel. This should be pretty darn near 40 seconds worth of fuel for the 27 Aston Martin. And there we go, 41. The fuel nozzle comes out. Maxime Martin does a very nice burnout. Ooh, he actually ripped the Michelin stickers right off.
Very good. And Rick Ware and Aidan Reid did get scored as the leader at the end of that last lap. They crossed the line before Phil Ellis did in the pit lane. So the number 51, the purple, black, light blue and white, has led one lap and now comes into the pit lane. It's a great story for this car. It's I think this is the former Gradient Racing chassis that they've taken over, and comes into the pit lane, and also in as well from GTD Pro, Alex Riberas for Heart of Racing. These are green flag scheduled stops for the GTs.
Sticker tires for Ross Gunn, who will be taking the 23 Heart of Racing Aston Martin back out onto the track, and everything going according to plan at that stop. We've also got the 5 Mustang sampling car in. Tristan Vautier is out. Richard Westbrook is in. They are doing 4 new Michelin tires on this car as well. The Rick Ware stop continues further down the pit lane. Ryan Eversley has been installed behind the wheel of that accurate, meaning that we should be able to play a game of Where's Aiden and actually get to talk to him once he gets his helmet off, but they are waiting on fuel. The car is still up on the air jacks, however. The tire change appears to be done. Now the car drops off the air jacks, fuel nozzles come out, and Ryan gets going.
Pretty good. Green flag stops for everybody. Also in the pit lane, Tristan Vautier. And that car is moving again, the black and the dark grey and gold machine.
But the number 01 car was just in on the previous lap as well. Didn't need necessarily to stop at that juncture. It should have had enough fuel, I think, to do some few more laps, but it came in out of second position, did the number 01 car, that's Renger van der Zande.
Could just be splitting the last 90 minutes or so into two halves. Reckon he can go one more stop from here, Jeremy, in that car for the 01. Be a little bit tight, maybe.
No, one more stop from here. Yeah, that should be. That's no problem.
And sure to have a word with Chip Ganassi's team down there at the 01, just to see if there was a niggling little problem. Might have had a tyre going down or something like that, coming 2 or 3 laps earlier than they needed to. Ollie Jarvis now leads by 2 seconds. It's a good run again by the Englishman, one of the quiet men in the paddock, as he's talking from behind the wheel. And exceptionally quick driver in GTs or in prototypes. And as someone has just mentioned to me, the racing blog has just said, crazy to think the last time we were racing at CTMP official, the summer of Mazda was just kicking off. Seems like a lifetime ago. Certainly does. One of the stories of the first half of the race, Rick Ware Racing, who did get scored as leaders of GTD. Aidan Reid, the driver who took it from the green flag at the start of the race, is with Shea Adam.
Aidan Reid, you led the race in the class. How good did that feel?
I had a fun day. You know, it's been a slightly difficult weekend for us coming back and joining the Sprint Championship, but you know, anything can happen with a well-executed race, and we're doing a good job right now. We're on what we think is the right strategy, and we're on some different options to some others, but I was really happy with the speed. We got a good car that's like fast in the right places, so we can make some progress. And you know, towards the end of that stint, it was really just about fuel management, which is kind of my jam sometimes from the Glen last year. So I'm confident with my engineer Matt and the whole Rick Ware racing team. And Ryan's in the car now. I trust that he's going to do a good job. And you know, I've had a happy day here in Canada.
Can you guys go to the end from here? One-stop race?
Oh, good question. I believe so. We'll check in on that.
Pretty cool. And I gotta ask, Ryan said the other day that this was your style of track because it takes guts. It's a lot like the Australian tracks. Does it make you feel like you're at home?
Well, I'm a long way from home, but there is maple syrup, so that helps. But yeah, it's just a gutsy track, and I like it. It's good fun. It's short. It's fast. A lot of compression. Sometimes the car feels like it weighs nothing. Sometimes the car feels like it weighs twice what it really does. You know, it just makes you feel like a hero sometimes. So, I'm enjoying my time over here, and this team is building, and that's some positivity for the guys, and I'm happy about that. And I had fun, drove well, and you know, the last couple of races, Detroit and here, I think we've made a step forward. So happy days.
Good job today. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good job.
Yeah,
really good job by Aidan and an entire team. And yeah, I think they should be able to get to the end from here. They might need to save a little bit of fuel, but we'll see the other leaders coming in. The number 9 car came into the pits out of the lead on the previous lap. Now the lead on the Corvette. That's making its final stop as well. Car number 3 into the pits and out again. That will leave Philip Ellis out in the lead this race. He was running in the 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, he's leading at the moment. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. It's the second stop for Corvette. Remember, they did stop a little bit early on, but that should be their last stops for all of these GTDs. With an hour and 35, an hour and 40 almost gone, just over an hour to go. And most of them have been down the pit lane twice. Carl Marcelli's only been in the pit lane once. That's the LMP3s who are the most frugal here. And at the front of the field, we've got a new leader as Ollie Jarvis comes into the pits, but moments before he did, Earl Bamber with a very sharp move again in traffic. But here comes Ollie Jarvis to the pit lane, and Shea Adam is waiting down at the Auto Nation Sirius XM Acura pit.
For the Meyer-Shank Racing crew, this is fuel and tires. They know exactly what they're doing, as they've done it so many times before, to wind up with a victorious race car. Thinking back to Daytona earlier this year, fuel and tires. Jarvis stays aboard. They did give him a new drinks bottle. And let's see if the fuel, yep, they're putting this thing brim full, and it has caused a reaction. 02 crew is up on the wall now too, so I'd expect Earl Bamber coming in for exactly the same service in just a few minutes' time.
Ollie Jarvis, wide-eyed, his visor up in the cockpit.
He's going to get his head down now and turn some really good laps. Going to be careful not to stray more than 2 wheels over that yellow line on the exit of the pits. A big lock-up, though, coming into the pits for Earl Bamber.
Yeah, I hope he got it down to the pit lane speed limit, and he'll be getting rid of those front Michelin tyres because they're going to have a flat spot on it. He was super late on the brakes, in and out the pits really early. He just about got it slowed down, but it was on and off the brakes. No ABS on these, you've got to do it yourself. It's a technique called cadence braking. You go on and off with your left foot. Most of these guys are braking. Shea Adam, full service stop.
Full service stop, fuel and 4 Michelin tires. That is the last tire going onto the car. 19, 20, 21 seconds worth of fuel. Ranger's and Data's in, it came in for 23. The sister car came in for 23 seconds. So the 02 doing a bit of a better job saving fuel.
One more stop from here for these cars, but it won't necessarily have to be a full stop for those DPIs, Jeremy. I don't think they can do an hour. And there's a touch on the front straight between the two Acuras, and the Cunningham and Alta car was squeezed into the wall there by Ollie Jarvis, and then was eased off the track. That will be looked at by race control. My goodness me, that was very close to a huge incident on the pit straight. An hour and 1 minute to go. Ollie Jarvis getting up to speed at the end of his outlap. Now they'll be both very lucky if they've come away without damage there. Jarvis and Taylor went across the line with virtually nothing between them. There was traffic ahead. It was the Riley car, and Jarvis pulled out. Very, very tight indeed to the wall. Jarvis defending across. Maybe took that a little bit too far, Jeremy, and then got a little tap for his troubles coming into turn 1 as they both tried to get back on the racing line.
Yeah, that was an opportunity to move there from Ricky Taylor. Brilliant move by Taylor, actually. And maybe there was a car width between number 60 car and the pit wall, but it was awfully tight. And he realised he was in trouble there, Oliver Jarvis, and he was in deeper trouble when he got down to turn 1 because there was another LMP3 car to negotiate his way. He had to go round from the outside. That cost him a lot of ground. He's got to hope there's no damage to that number 60 car. He told he had to get his head down, but he perhaps might have anticipated that number 10 car was going to get a run off turn 10.
Such a busy end to the lap though, Jeremy, isn't it? You've got a super fast corner at turn 8, which runs pretty much straight into turn 9, which runs pretty much straight into turn 10. Jarvis rounds Moss corner and heading up the Mario Andretti straight. He's lost a bit of ground to number 10, similar car. The Acura's in 3rd and 4th at the moment, Taylor and Jarvis. 3.5 seconds or thereabouts lost there by Ollie Jarvis. So it's Renger van der Zande from Earl Bamber, the two Chip Ganassi run Cadillac racing cars, 3 seconds apart, 0-1 from 0-2. And Shea Adam, whilst that excitement was going on down the front straight, you had some more pit stops.
Yes, well, aside from nearly getting run over by those two cars because I was standing on the pit wall, we had the 96 Turner Motorsport BMW and the 57 Windward Mercedes, both from the GTD class. Fuel and 4 tires for them. The Riley LMP3 machine came in, fuel and 4 tires, and that has triggered a slew of LMP3 stops. Number 1 being the car that came in with the number 1 on the side, the 54 Core Autosport machine. Colin Colin Brown is in. That is fuel and 4 tires for him as well. And Junior 3 Garrett Grist just coming down the pit lane. That will be fuel and 4 tires for them. And those are shiny Michelins going on to the Junior 3 racing machine. We also expect to see Paul Miller racing in any moment now. It will be fuel, tires, and a new drinks bottle for Brian Sellers. His full course caution is out.
And that is for the number 74, Scott Andrews and Riley Motorsports on his outlap in the Ligier that had been leading LMP3. Car has gone off at turn 4. That will not be a small incident. That is full commitment and flat out at that point. On his outlap, he's being gained on. It's Ollie Jarvis diving down the inside. Jarvis maybe feeling the pressure. Now, I don't know whether there was a touch or not there, Jeremy, but certainly it was enough to put Scott Andrews offline. And the previous incident between the Konica Minolta number 10 and the number 60 under review. And that's quite a heavy impact for Scott Andrews. But there are 4 banded rows of tyres there, which have taken some of the sting out of it. But that car is going to need assistance to move out of that. I can see Scott Andrews moving in the cockpit. High-speed incident at one of the fastest corners on the circuit.
Yeah, and really unfortunate there for Scott Andrews. As you say, the top 2 cars in the class, number 74, that is Scott Andrews, and number 36, Gabby Chavez, both pitted on that previous lap. And now, just before the caution came out, I think the next 2 cars in line, 54 and 30, I think they both made it onto the pit lane before the yellows.
They were both well in before that. Shea was describing the stops as that accident happened. Yeah. So,
right, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, really unfortunate there for Scott Andrews.
The cars that got in just before that incident were Bill Oberlin in the number 96, Gabby Chavez in the number 36 LMP3. Then Scott Andrews left. Then it was Colin Brown into the pit lane, the 54. Then Garrett Grist getting in. And then the full course caution came out. So no one else was able to get in. And of course, the pits are now closed. Scott Andrews chasing the 36 of Gabby Chavez. As Jeremy said, they'd just come out of the pits, coming through to the kink that is turn 4. I call it a corner, Jeremy, but I don't think it's even a modicum of a lift in pretty much anything here. Scott left a bit of room on the inside for the number 60 car. I don't really see that anybody did anything too wrong there. There was a good car's width and a bit more on the inside. And Ollie Jarvis went down the inside there, and there was the slightest of contact. And here comes Ollie Jarvis. They're going to have a check of the car to make sure that it's okay after those 2 little dabs that they've had, and a splash of fuel as and they've been given a drive-through. That was a pit open stop, but the number 60 car has been given a warning for the incident responsibility with the number 10. That was on the pit straight a couple or 3 laps ago. So incident responsibility, but it's only drawn a warning. Interesting call there from race control, Jeremy.
Yeah. I mean, there was just about, I think once Taylor was alongside me, he certainly squeezes him toward the pit wall. Oh, did he put him into the pit wall? That's the question. Race control reckons he didn't put him into the pit wall. Yeah, maybe. He certainly kept a straight line after that. But I think that's probably the right call on that one, but it was awfully tight.
Chase just said she's leaned over the pit wall and all the banners are intact, so he definitely didn't go into the pit wall.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that is the algorithm for working that one out, Jay, but well done on that. Pits are now open for the GTs, although most people had just taken a stop. Anybody who's not quite sure or is at the back of the GT field might take a little splash here to see if they can make it all the way. And hearing that Brian Sellers for Paul Miller Racing, leading GTD at the moment. Is he due a stop, Jeremy? Because it looks to me as though the Paul Miller Racing guys are due a stop. Yes,
that's right. And Ben Barnick 2 and number 14 car. I think they're the only two leaders, actually in the respective classes, GTD Pro and GTD, that had not stopped prior to this full course caution. So yes, they will need a stop.
Now, Kamui Kobayashi needs to get in his car or they're going to have drive time issues, and the 14 is in. Barnicat is in with 52, call it 53 minutes to go now. It's when Kobayashi comes out. Brian Sellers looks to be getting out of that number 1 BMW. Drinks bottle only. Madison's psyched to be out there, but there is a change in the 14, Jeremy. New driver there, mark that one off your list. And a brand new set of sticker Michelin tyres with under full course yellow for that incident with Scott Andrews in the number 74 Riley and the Meyershank Racing number 60 Acura. Go, 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 start, and away goes the Lexus.
Yeah, but the bad news is it's going to fall right to the tail end of the class there, because everybody else already made their pit stop. No need for anybody else in GTD other than those two to come into the pit. So they're kind of gambling there by staying out after everybody else had pitted. I don't think it's going to work out in the favour of either of them. Number 1, of course, that leads the WeatherTech Sprint Cup points coming into this weekend, so potentially costly for them. Having said that, of course, they were running towards the tail end of that class in any case, so I think it really ultimately has only cost them 1 position, perhaps, to the 96 car.
Yeah.
But just a quick note about Scott Andrews there. Interestingly, he had been passed either in the pits or on that outlet by the number 36 car. So Gabby Chavez had got ahead of Scott Andrews.
Yeah, that's right. He was chasing him down to turn 4 as Ollie came through.
Colin Brown in again then, number 54 car for a splash or something.
Was that his second start? No,
he was in, wasn't he, in a couple of laps ago? Yeah, he was in a couple of laps ago. Right before the caution, wasn't he? Yes, you said.
Down the pit lane twice. Yeah, he was right behind. Let me just check. Yes, you're absolutely right. He was in and out in very little time at all. In at 54.33 and out at 54.38. Yeah. So was that a drive-through then?
Well, no, because it's still under caution. So.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. So, how? It was literally 10 seconds from pit in to pit out. Can't be right.
No, it can't be right.
Well-timed full course caution for us. Colin Brown returns to the track with the lead. 53 minutes left in the race. They've just tweeted that. Let's go down to the team that was victorious in both GT classes last week. That would be Heart of Racing and their Aston Martin teams. Alex Riberas is with Shea.
Alex, was it fun out there when you were battling with Roman, not expecting to be against the sister car, were you?
Well, you know, out here anything can happen, as we saw. It's such a cool track to be out there, so definitely a lot of fun to drive the Aston Martin Vantage and to see actually Roman leading the class, doing such a good job. I mean, I'm so proud of him for what he's doing today, and hopefully they can bring it home and bring the W.
You were up in second. At one point, the Corvette got by. At one point, Roman got by, and then all of a sudden you were back up to second. What was happening in the battling out on the track?
Well, it's tough racing out there. The Porsche definitely has a very strong pace. They look strong out there, so it's tough to follow. Only with traffic, you know, out here with the LMP3 cars, the Tpi cars dive bombing. It was actually so much fun. And now again with another full course yellow, anything can happen. We are right there in the mix, and it's all up to Ross now.
Good luck, fingers crossed.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Great to hear Alex's voice from down in the pit lane. Had a great chat with him right at this first big event of the year at the 24 Hours of Dubai, one of the preventing 24-hour series races. And And had a great chat with him in the early hours of the morning in the pit lane at Tpi. Really lovely to see him back on this side of things. Got caught on the wrong side of the travel restrictions and the wrong side of the world on those travel restrictions for a wee while. And a reminder, by the way, that Creventic and IMSA are partnering again at the end of this year for the 24 hours of Sebring. Go to 24hseries.com for all the details. Yes, a 24-hour race around Sebring. It's a great event last year, thoroughly enjoyed it, and we'll be back there covering it again this year. It's in November, and worthwhile. Top class being GT3, some touring car classes as well, and an event that is growing quite quickly. Upwards of 40 cars, I'm led to believe, already shown interest in that, and possibly even more than that by the time we get to that event. That's a joint IMSA and Creventic run 24 hours of Sebring in November. Right, Jeremy, 48 minutes to go. No real benefit for anybody in any of the classes there, possibly apart from Colin Brown. He took that little splash without losing the lead for Core Autosport in LMP3, but everybody else had just about done their pit stop, so it's pretty much as you were. The only person who took a slight advantage there was the number 60, Ollie Jarvis, who took an extra splash of fuel. I'm still not sure they'll get to the end from here, though.
They've also came in, I think, during that
sorry, the
right
number
behind number 60, 31 and the 5 car
okay,
both
thank
came
you.
in.
Right, yes, yeah, they must have, because they're back behind them. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so yeah, that could work out in favour. We've got 46 minutes remaining, so we're not going to go green this time, most likely. So yeah, that's right on the edge, upper edge, being able to get to the end of here. So lights out in the safety car.
I
think
say
they
yes.
are, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is going to be a bit of a stretch to get to the end from here. So the number
But
60,
nobody ahead of them
31,
can they? So
I don't think so. I think they need more caution to get to the end from here. Yeah, I think 46, 47 minutes, if they're really fuel saving on green, is doable. But they've got that to go now. Plus, they've already been out there for several laps as well. So no, I think it's going to be another splash for everybody. And the 0-1 car, which leads, that's going to need more fuel than everybody else.
Yeah.
The order right now then is at 0-1, 0-2, 10, 65, and 31. And the number 0-1 car needs several laps more fuel than everybody else.
I reckon they're 7 laps worse off than the 0-2 teammate. They are 5 laps worse off than Ricky Taylor in the 10. And the other 3 you mentioned, they've only been out for a couple of 3 laps behind the safety car. So Renger van der Zande, as Jeremy says, by far the worst off of the leaders for fuel, but everybody will need a splash to get to the end. It will be a longer splash for some than for others. If we go full green in the next 45 minutes, and we're back under green flag, and Renger van der Zande got a great restart for the 0-1 Cadillac. He's pulled out half a second, maybe a little bit more, his teammate Earl Bam, but then Ricky Taylor right in the fight with Ollie Jarvis sitting in the second of the Acura. So Cadillac, Acura, Cadillac's in top 6. Colin Brown with a 1.2 second lead over Gabby Chavez. That's going to be a great battle between Core Autosport's 54 and Andretti Autosport at the 36. Don't count out Garrett Grist either. He's only a 8/10 gap behind in 3rd position. Cal Mostelli trying to fight his way back into it as well for AWA in the 13 in LMP3.
Yeah, he's a lap down, is Carl Marcelli, but Garrett Grist, local driver from Grimsby, Ontario, just down the road here from the track. He is in 3rd position and going to be gunning after Colin Brown and Gabby Chavez, that's for sure.
Here comes the battle for the lead, onto the front straight again. Pretty much equidistant, the top 6. And of course, for the moment, they've got no traffic ahead of them. The last car in line is just going into turn 8 now, and that is the number 12 of Aaron Tielitz for Vassar Sullivan. It's the Cadillacs in 5th and 6th position that are the closest battle at the moment. That being Richard Westbrook for JDC Miller Motorsports, announced as a Porsche customer racing team for next year for the new 963, which will run in the GTP category in IMSA. No word on their driver lineup yet. And in FIA WEC, by the way, it will be Hertz Team Jota, the Sam Hignett run team from the UK, with an all-pro lineup there, but again, no drivers' names yet. I suspect there's a rather, well, I was going to say an orderly crew, probably a disorderly crew, people pushing each other out the way, spread to the doors of both of those establishments of GT and prototype drivers trying to get in on a customer racing Porsche drive. Second place for Corvette in GTD Pro, and the run to the finish for Antonio Garcia trying to track down Matt Campbell in the Porsche. Heard what Alex Riberos was saying early on about that Porsche. It's been pretty strong, the FAF car, all week, and has held the lead pretty much since the drop of the green flag. Matt Campbell to take it home. Don't count out Ross Gunn though, very highly thought of at Aston Martin and its Heart of Racing team. And Maxime Martin, well, if it was raining, I'd put money on Maxime Martin right now. He's an absolute rainmeister. He's not too shabby in the dry as well, but he's got some pressure from Phil Ellis as they battle for first and second in GTD. That's your in-race update from VP Racing Fuels with 42 minutes to go. This one, Jeremy, is going to be an absolute barnstormer.
Yeah, number 57 car was the big kind of gainer in all that round of pit stops there, because all of a sudden he's come out in second place in the class. He'd been running in the third position before that, so he's made up one place. The loser, unfortunately, is at number 51 team, because Ryan Eversley has been shuffled back a couple of positions, I think, at the restart by both Daniel Yucatela and Conor Di Filippi, two of the pro cars in GTD.
Absolutely not a chance I'd have put money on any of these cars in any of the classes. 24 cars started this race. We've got 22 still running. And in the categories, well, really, all of the top six still in with a chance of something out of this race, a podium or better. Top three in LMP3, still very much in the hunt. GTD Pro, top three there, are still tied together with a very short piece of streak. And GTD is the usual gunfight as well.
Yeah, Corvette running in second position and still behind Maddie Campbell. But yeah, the Porsche certainly looks strong. The fastest lap in the class has been set by Maddie Campbell. That was actually on that last lap around. Maddie Campbell set the fastest lap of the race in GTD at 1:47.470. Garcia behind him, 1:17.460. 1:469, wait a minute, what was that? 4:70. Oh, beg your... Yeah, confused.
Big ball of dust thrown up at the final corner. 79. Daniel Yucatela throwing up some dust into the pit lane for the number 10. Ricky Taylor, they've reckoned they couldn't get to the end. We knew that. So they're now thinking, right, 39 minutes, we can go from here. This will definitely be our last pit stop. They rather looked into their fuel strategy at Watkins Glen a week ago with the red flag. They would not have been able to make it. They've still got some damage on the back of the car on the left-hand side. There's a crack above the left rear wheel on the wheel arch. There's a bit of bodywork missing on the inside part of that as well, but it hasn't moved since the last time we saw it in the pit lane. So now that's interesting, Jeremy. So that's Wayne Taylor and the team saying, right, we can go from here. What do the rest of the teams do? Expect to see them up on the wall. You don't want to get caught the wrong side of a yellow flag.
Yeah, the question now is, what does Ganassi do? Oh, they're bringing the number 60 car in as well, also for a very quick splash. This will be which is a penalty. Instant. Is this a penalty?
No, they only got a warning for the penalty. I think this will just be a splash, and it'll be a very short splash for that car.
Okay, fine. Everybody is in then, right?
So it's who needs the least amount of fuel, Jeremy, and the 60 should be right about there, along with the JDC Motorsports number 5 and the number 10. Just 8 seconds, and it gets out first. That's a huge move from the number 60. So that splash of fuel at the end of the last yellow flag period has paid dividends for Ollie Jarvis and Meyer Shank Racing. I think they're going to be out ahead of those who've just come into the pit lane, and Shea Adam was watching that, and it wasn't a clean stop for one of the 2 Chip Ganassi Cadillacs.
It should have been Earl Bamber, the first car back off the pit lane. He was the first one to have the fuel nozzle removed, but he stalled it, and in that little breath, it was what allowed Ollie Jarvis to get going and rolling and be in the fast lane, well ahead of everyone else. But I'm not entirely sure that they beat out Ricky Taylor.
Oh yes they did. Oh yes they did. But it's going to be tight because Taylor's got the momentum. It was about a second and a half, but they're on the Andretti straight now. This is the effective lead of the race as Pipo Durrani is just called in for a splash of fuel. Now, how quickly can he get out? They're coming through turn 10 now. The fuel hose is still on. It's still on. He needs to be rolling. He needs to be rolling. He is now. This is going to be really tight down at turn 1. This could be the motor race right here. Durrani is rolling. The cars will speed past him on the start-finish line, and Ollie Jarvis goes back to the lead for the Meyer Shank Racing Acura. Man, that is great work in the pit lane. Porsche keys to the race. Track position key here, and it's absolutely paid off, Jeremy, for Ollie Jarvis, who has put in a super outlap there to get ahead of Ricky Taylor, and great call from the pit wall as well.
Yeah, great call to come in and make that splash during the caution, because that means they need a little bit less fuel than the other contenders when they all made that pit stop. But the big losers that we knew, the Cadillacs, particularly that 01 car, was going to need more fuel than everybody else. But 02, that had been only in a couple of laps before, really only done 1 lap of green before we went to yellow, compared to number 60 car. But great pit work there by the Meyer Shank Racing with Kerr Bagajanian team, and they got themselves that track position again. So the question is, they've had this track position in most of the races this year, or many of the races. Can they this time put it to good effect and bring it home?
Last week,
37 minutes remaining.
Last week, we were rolling again with 35 minutes to go. We went green at just over 20 minutes to go, and it was Tom Blomqvist that was leading from Philippe Albuquerque. Now we've got 35 and a half minutes to go. We are green, and it's Ollie Jarvis leading Ricky Taylor by 1.3 seconds. Great outlap by Ollie Jarvis, and managed in and outlap by Ollie Jarvis. Managed to hold off Ricky Taylor when he was closed in on at this part of the track he's at now, which is coming through turn 7. Heading slightly uphill here on the Andretti straight, and there's traffic, but he's holding on to the lead to come down to 7/10 of a second. So can Ollie hold on to this advantage for the next 35 minutes? Don't go anywhere. Just keep it tuned to 90.7 FM around the track. Sirius XM 207. IMSA Radio at IMSARadio.com. Oh, big checkup for Ollie Jarvis as he's stuck in behind the Turner Motorsport BMW at turn 1. He dives to the right-hand side. Next up, he's got the number 14 Kamui Kobayashi driven Lexus. He gets past that. The double world champion in FIA WEC, and this time you win at the traffic, you lose at the traffic, and it's Taylor who's lost this time, and here comes Earl Bamber down towards turn 4. Taylor sweeps across to the left-hand side, the block going into turn number 4, but under braking to 5. Here comes, and they've hit. Bamber coming up the inside, and into the wall for the number 10. He has to wait for a moment. There was the slightest brush on the right rear. Door left open for a moment and then closed. That'll be looked at by race control. Man, that's going to be a tough one to call. Not sure there was enough room there, but I can see while why Bamba had a look at it. Looked like the door had been left open. Certainly been slammed hard in his face at turn 4 when he had a little bit of a run. And Taylor swept across from the right to the left of the track to take turn 4, which is the left-hander. Taylor has continued there, Jeremy. I don't think there's any damage, even though he's slightly nudged the tyre wall on the outside of Moss Corner. Now there's this big gaggle of GT cars which will be completed when Ollie Jarvis gets past Matt Campbell, which he does now in the GTD Pro Leader. He's going down through turn 4. Here comes Earl Bamber. This is the scene of the crime from last time around. It's under review for that incident. Has to be really at this stage of the race.
No question about it. I mean, I'm going to reserve judgment until I see that again, because it was certainly a late lunge down the inside, which is the only way you're going to get past Ricky Taylor.
He had a run on him going into turn 4. That wasn't going to happen. And then coming up the hill, he was. I tell you what, he was further alongside than I thought, but it still wasn't enough.
No, that has to be surely the fault of Earl Bamber there. He just stuck it down the inside there. Ricky Taylor's turning into the corner. Yeah, there was sort of a door open, but you've got to be alongside at the turning point. He clearly was nowhere near alongside number 10 car. He was coming alongside as they got to the apex. In my book, that's not good enough, but I've been wrong several times in the past. But for me, that was way too optimistic, I think, from Earl Bamber at that point in the race. I mean, obviously, he'd be better off going for the second apex, I think, rather than the first one. Ricky Taylor, in my book, did absolutely nothing wrong there.
Has he got to leave him room? Has he got to leave him room on the inside?
No, not for somebody who's lunging down the inside. Absolutely not.
Well,
no,
that's how the stewards, that's how race control have seen it. It'll be a drive-through for Earl Bamber. They've worked that one out very quickly indeed, and that gives the opportunity for Earl Bamber to come in and try and fight his way back. He's catching up to the leader. He'll peel off to the pits here, surely. No, he has not. Now, got to get on the phone to Ollie Jarvis and say, don't fight Bamber here. If Bamber gets to you, he's coming into the pits. The gap now between Ollie Jarvis and Richard Westbrook, who is de facto second position. What a great comeback for the JDC Miller car, by the way, that didn't seem to have the pace earlier on. Richard Westbrook will be 4 seconds near enough behind Ollie Jarvis. And Bamber's got a problem. Just sliding the car there. He was gaining on the leader. And then all of a sudden at turn 3, the back end stepped away. Now he's gathered it all together again. But with 30 minutes to go by the time he comes to the pit entry, he will have to turn into pit lane and take the drive through. Flat out down the Andretti straight. Well, flat out for a very, very long time. Full throttle at this circuit, just down 1 gear, just as you turn into turn 8. And now he peels off right into the pit lane. Here he comes to serve that penalty. Bamber in the pit lane. He's going to have 30 minutes to fight his way back.
Well, he's going to need a caution to do that, obviously. He's out of contention unless there is another full course caution. We've still got half an hour to go. Anything can happen, that's for sure. And that's handed a goodly lead now for Oliver Jarvis to Richard Westbrook as a result of taking that splash and go during the pit stop. Has able to get himself up into third position now, or second position now, with the penalty for number 02 car. And he's not going to give that up to Richard Westbrook unless he absolutely have to Renke van der Zande unless he absolutely has to. So Richard Westbrook in second place, and he'll want to stay there. Pipo Derani, curiously, did not take advantage of that splash that he also made during that caution, and he's back in fourth position and appears at this stage at least to be dropping back a little bit.
106.9 for Derani last time around, 106.8 and 106.9 for the 2 cars ahead. So similar sort of pace, but Derani's dropped a couple of seconds, dropped nearly 4 seconds back now from that third place car. 4 seconds between first and the battle for second and third, and Ollie Jarvis will be hoping Richard Westbrook and Renger van der Zande have a heck of a scrap behind him. Not because he necessarily needs to see in his rear view mirror, but if they're fighting, they're not catching up on him. And he's got clear track ahead of him at the moment. Coming into Moss Corner at turn 5. The next car that he will see in front of him is Cal Marcelli in the AWA Duquesne. Let's go down to the pit lane. Shea Adam has more from the drivers who have got out of the cars and have done their work for today.
Tristan Vautier, after a fantastic qualifying effort yesterday, today the race has come back to you a little bit. Fighting in second and now looking at a chance at a win. Does the Cadillac have anything for the Acura? Should a caution bunch everybody back up?
Yeah, I think we have something. We definitely don't have the pace maybe of the 60 and the Ganassi cars, but no, we have track position. Richard's doing a great job. We had a good start. The second stint was really rough. We had some, I think the pressures didn't really come up and we were really skating on the ground, a lot of bottoming, so it was very sketchy, but no, we kind of fixed that, and it seems like we're hanging on for hopefully a good podium finish.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Perfect timing from Shea Adam. 27.5 minutes to go. Checkered flag will end the race, but start our conversation at Michelin post-race tech. Hashtag Michelin PRT at IMSA Radio. If you'd like to be a part of that, it's the show where you decide the direction that it goes. The original listener-led post-race show, and get your comments, points arising or questions into us at IMSA Radio, hashtag PRT after the race. We'll give you some interviews as well as the essential points from what's gone on here this weekend at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. That's exclusively live on IMSA Radio RS2 via Listen Live at imsaradio.com. If you're watching the TV feed, you need to switch across to that once we finish with the international World Feed TV. Well, Jeremy, this one has lived up to all expectations. 2019 since we were last here, this one's been worth waiting for.
Yeah, it certainly has. It's been a tremendous race. There's been all sorts of excitement, hasn't there, up and down the field, and there's still a lot to be played out. So still more than 25 minutes remaining, so you know, there's plenty of time for the leaders are going to be lapping all the GTD cars and looking at them all in the train here. They're coming up to that tail end group, which is 4 cars, 51, 14, 96 and 1. They're having a great battle amongst themselves there, and then they're going to come up to the leading half dozen or so. Yeah, this is just great stuff between these two. It's real cat and mouse, and all of the drivers have their hearts in their mouths right now.
Stuart.
And number 5, Westbrook had to lift off there at the final corner. That's going to give a run. Wow, that was tight.
That was Renger van der Zande having to get out of the throttle, off the gas, coming down the front straight as Westbrook was pulling out. And oh my goodness me, it's a full course caution. Ricky Taylor's off. Ricky Taylor's off the circuit. And this time the car isn't starting. He's nosed into a tyre barrier this time. This is huge for the championship. With 25 minutes to go, great news for Earl Bamber. And it was at the last corner. Well, surely he wasn't headed for the pit lane, or was he?
No, I think it was lapping some slower cars, I would imagine.
That's the only thing I can think of. What was he doing out there? The pits are closed. Let's see if he goes around. Yes, he has. Now, how much damage is there to that front bodywork? I would say there's quite a bit. It does not look to be aerodynamically efficient, and it's sticking up all over the place. I'm sure that it's got a slightly smaller radar signature. He was going down the inside of the number 31. He's going to get a penalty for that. He's got to get a penalty for that. That's exactly the same incident that we saw committed to him. And he's gone down the inside of Pipo Derani. That'll be a drive-through, got to be looked at. But that looked exactly the same to me, Jeremy, as what we saw a few laps ago.
It was certainly I mean, Pipo Derani's not the easiest guys to get around, is he, as we've seen in the past. And these two have history, don't they, Ricky Taylor and Pipo Derani? They're not the best of buddies, that is for sure. And more contact between the two of them there. That was at turn 9, and it was Ricky Taylor who came off first, squeezed up onto the inside curbing there. I think he was trying not to hit the number 31 car too hard, I think. And as a result of that, got up on that curb and the car spun around. And that's going to put him to the back of that little pack.
How do you stand then, Jeremy, on the penalty being assessed on on what happens after the incident, or how much damage to somebody else races it caused? Because that, to me, he's no further up alongside, and he hits Durrani, and he ends up off the track. Now, he could have spun into someone else, he could have taken someone else. He didn't. Therefore, the consequences weren't as great as what Earl Bamber did, but the actions were identical. So, do you call for the consequence, or do you call for the action?
Well, from my perspective, he was certainly farther alongside number 31 car than was Earl Bamber on him, when that incident happened a few laps ago. But still, it was a lunge down the inside. And on this occasion, it was the aggressor that came off worst. So if there isn't a penalty, I would say that would be why, because it was the aggressor that was not the beneficiary from that. It didn't pay off for Ricky Taylor. He's got damage, and he lost the position as well. But interesting to see whether that race control does call that. I mean, he was, I would say, at least halfway alongside, which I say is a lot more than Earl Bamber was down at turn 5. From the way I saw it.
Getting up on the curb didn't help him, as it
no,
did,
well, quite. And I think
it didn't help Earl either.
No, exactly.
Ahead of them, of course, it was all kicking off with Richard Westbrook going a little bit wide, then getting held up by the AWA car and pulling out right in front of Renger van der Zande, who had his wits about him. That is being looked at, by the way, for Ricky Taylor v. Pipo Durrani. The DPI class split is going on. And what this does do, ironically, is put Earl Bamber in front of Ricky Taylor. That is the caution that he wanted, but not what Ollie Jarvis wanted, because his 1.5 second lead, of course, has disappeared. And we're now back down to pretty much where we were a week ago with 20 minutes to go. But I would have thought, Shea Adam, and you're watching the team, that the number 10 Konica Minolta Acura will have to come in for some rhinoplasty.
Yes, there will be a nose job while he's in the pit lane, as well as 4 new Michelins going on that Acura, because at this point, why not? They're throwing everything they have at it. But Ricky actually has bodywork on the right front of that car that is hanging on by a thread, and Ricky was just trying to wave it off. The pits are not yet open. They will be open this next time by for the prototypes, and then they'll be open the next time after that for GTs. Not sure if we're going to have any GT takers, but we are definitely getting the 10 in.
Yeah. There's slightly more damage than even I thought there. Therefore, you could argue that the action of Ricky Taylor is self-penalising there, I suppose. That could, it could go, it's not going to go on people, so it'll either be no action or it'll be incident responsibility and a warning, I reckon, because of the fact he's damaged his own car. And I'd kind of be all right with that.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. But, look, the margins are so tight here. You've got to go for any opportunity that you glimpse. And, for both Earl Bamber and Ricky Taylor, they glimpsed an opportunity, so they went for it. And, it might not have paid off, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. Certainly for Oliver Jarvis, the good news for Oliver Jarvis is that although that lead has been wiped out, that he had built up, as you say, it was about 3.5 seconds over Richard Westbrook. The good news is it's Richard Westbrook in second place. Hear me out here, because the number 5 car hasn't generally been the quickest of the Cadillacs, but it's Richard Westbrook, and he hasn't won a race for a long time in this series, and would love to do so. And for that JDC Miller Motorsports Mustang sampling team, they are desperate for a good result. They've got one going right now, and a win is not out of the question.
No, I don't disagree with anything you've said there. We're going back to green flag, so the pits did not open. Short yellow called across the line. Reviewed, no action for that incident between the 10 and the 31. Okay?
And you called it, I think, is the reason there.
Because it was self-penalising.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have liked to have seen incident responsibility warning, rather, but okay. You're going to get dives down the inside, and here's one now, and Westbrook has just got a little bit of a hip in the shoulder from Renger van der Zande as they were going up over the top of the brow at 3, and here comes Pivo Derani. He comes from 4th to 3rd, and Westbrook goes down from 2nd to 4th in the space of half a lap, and here comes Earl Bamber, and he's got Ricky Taylor right up his tailpipes. And remember what happened a few laps ago, and we're now hearing that there will not be a pit stop for that number 10 Cunningham and Alder Acura, even with the damaged front end of the car. So Ollie Jarvis leads by about a second and a half. The new front section to that car has been put back behind the wall. Jarvis leads, and now it's Renger van der Zande behind him in the 01 Cadillac, and then the charging Pipo Derani, then Richard Westbrook, then Earl Bamber and Ricky Taylor, the top 6 within 2.8 seconds. Colin Brown still leads from Gabby Chaves in LMP3. That's the 54 car core from the 36 Andretti Autosport. There's about a second between them. Garrett Grish right on the tail of Gabby Chaves as they went across the start finish line.
Yeah, and Grist had closed up on Chavez. They were battling away for second place, so only a couple of seconds, or 2 or 3 seconds behind Colin Brown before that latest full course caution.
In GTD Pro, Matt Campbell for FAF Motorsport leads. After the restart, he got a very good one over Antonio Garcia for Corvette. Ross Gunn for Heart of Racing Aston Martin, 9-3 and 23, separated by about a second and a half, those three. Maxime Martin for Heart of Racing Team ahead of Phil Ellis, but by nothing at all, a quarter of a second as they came round to the line in front of us last time around, with Ryan Eversley holding on to a podium position for Rick Ware Racing. Lexus into the pit lane was Aaron Thielitz. That car is going behind the wall, it will retire, so not a good day for them. Meantime, with 16 minutes to go, here comes Phil Ellis, looking for better than second. He's got Maxime Martin ahead of him in turn number 8. Ollie Jarvis about to come to the line, and does so, and his lead is just half a second. This one boiling up nicely, very nicely indeed. Now I remember, as if anyone could forget, why we love coming here. Great part of the world, fantastic scenery, always a great welcome, knowledgeable crowd, great places to go for food and drink. Oh yeah, and a fabulous track that produces outstanding racing. Great to be back at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park here in 2022. We've missed it. We've really missed it. Coming down to the last 15 minutes, Jeremy, nobody's writing their headlines in the newly named Jim Martin Media Centre for our old broadcast colleague, the voice of Motorsport. There's still plenty of work to be done here in the next 15 minutes and beyond.
There is, and yeah, lots of stories to be written here. There's going to be some words probably between various drivers at the end of this race. But at the moment, it's Oliver Jarvis who's just got his head down. He's going to try and stretch out that lead. He's pulled out just a little bit on that last lap, 1 minute 6.080. And last time around for Oliver Jarvis, that's only a hair away from the lap record pace that was set by Tom Blunckers back on lap 5. Renger van der Zande, by the way, has turned the lap only a couple of thousandths per second slower than Tom Blunckers' car. He's turned at 15991, 4 thousandths per second away from the Blunckers' best. So it certainly isn't over yet.
It is not over by any stretch of the imagination. An absolute quality run for everybody in this field. 24 cars. There was a few people turning their noses up at that. Not the not the enthusiasts who've come in their tens of thousands to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Four classes, 6 in each. And with the compact nature and quick lap times around here, this has worked out rather well, Jeremy, in terms of density of cars. And there are all thrillers, no fillers here in terms of the entry. And it's been little gaggles of cars that have caused problems when the leaders have come through to lap them. It's been quality stuff.
Yeah, we thought that might be the case. Pit stop there, by the way, for Kumi Kobayashi. Quite sure why that would be. He was running in the 6th position in the classic caliber 14, but we just saw Aaron Tielitz. Of course, that car was involved in an incident on the first corner. Unfortunately, the pole sitting car in GTD, Frankie Montecalvo, Aaron Tielitz brought that car in to retire it, we believe. The number 14 car also making a late pit stop there as well. Was he, or was it just my scoring system playing up again?
Who's that?
Kumi Kobayashi, maybe it was the scoring system playing up again.
It was Tielitz that came to the pits, definitely.
Yes, but
they've retired.
Kobayashi's colour lit up as well, as if he was in the pits, but I think he wasn't, so my apologies for that.
We've just done... no, definitely did not come to the pit lane. Matt Campbell's just done that car's fastest lap of the race, and he has to, because he's only 3/4 of a second ahead of Tonio Garcia in the battle for GTD Pro Honours. That's the FAF Racing, the Canadian Plaid number 9, the driveway Porsche, is just ahead of the Corvette. Oh my goodness, there'll be some split. Split loyalties from fans trackside here, with the GM plant just down the road at Oshawa and the Plaid Porsche from just down the road at Toronto, sorry, no T in the middle of it, remember Hindhoff. And so that's going to have some split loyalties. Here comes Ollie through the GTD battles.
Again,
yes, Brian Sellers, Bill Oberlin, Sellers in 5th, Bill Oberlin in 4th, having their own little private battle. Kumi Kobayashi just had a second up the road from them. There he goes. What a run from Ryan Eversley and the rest of Rick Ware Racing. Aidan Reid's brilliant first stint from Aidan Reid in that car. They're on for a podium at the moment in that NSX. That'd be a great result. Ollie Jarvis picks his way through the traffic and gets to the front and get a clean run down the Mario Andretti straight. And now, what's he got ahead of him? Answer. Pretty much everything.
Yes, that's right. I mean, this is nail-biting time here for Oliver Jarvis. It's you know, the physical. We talked about it earlier on. The physical demands at this racetrack are immense, but the mental demands perhaps even more so because of this constant. You're constantly turning one way or the other, and you've got to negotiate this traffic and anticipate where you're going to catch that traffic and keep that whoever you might be dicing with behind you. Tremendous racing here.
Once again, Ollie Jarvis hits the traffic first, and here comes Renger van der Zande round the outside at turn 2. The leader's held up behind the Aston Martin number 23. Down the inside for van der Zande at 3. He's got the inside track. Now, can Ollie do the comeback? No, he can't. And once again, in the closing moments of a race, the Meyershank Racing Acura has the lead taken away. This time it's Ollie Jarvis behind the wheel. But you win with traffic, you lose with traffic. It giveth, it taketh away. Right at the bottom of turn 2.
Yeah,
I tell you what,
he left a gap.
It was I was about to say, very fair from Ollie. He didn't chop across the nose of van der Zande, which he could have done there. Maybe should have done.
He left more than enough room there, and Renger van der Zande said, thank you very much indeed. I'm going to go for that one. A brilliant pass by Renger van der Zande. There was nothing wrong with that at all. That was just a textbook pass, and yeah, Ollie left the door open. You leave a gap, and Renger van der Zande of all of these guys, quite frankly, but he is definitely going to go for it. He did, and Ganassi, well, they're looking good right now. We've only got inside 10 minutes to go in this race. It's going to be awfully difficult, I think, for Oliver Jarvis to make a pass back again.
Huge black lines of Michelin rubber left under turning from Renger van der Zande, and getting on the power using that big V8 engine, biggest engine capacity in the TPI field. It's got a huge amount of torque. Now, there's no traffic until the end of this Mario Andretti straight. There's the battling.
Could be a few laps left, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely,
What's
Jeremy.
interesting-
It's the LMP3s they'll catch next as well.
Yeah. So we're on lap 115 now. The pass was made on lap 114. On lap 113, the leader's lap time was 1 minute 10.4, which was exactly 4 seconds slower than when he had clear traffic, a clear track, I should say, a couple laps before. So that's how much you can lose and gain by the traffic here. That's why you've got to anticipate everything. And Ollie there didn't anticipate it very well, quite frankly. And
Unusually.
But if he can maintain second place now, they'll not be happy with a second place finish. But it will be enough, as things stand right now, to regain the championship lead. It'll mean 5 second places in a row for Meyer Shank racing with Kobayashi, which they will not like, but they will like the championship lead.
That's courtesy of, presumably, the Konica Minolta Acura sitting down in 6th position at the moment, is it, Jeremy?
Correct.
Yeah. And 3 seconds away from Earl Bamber with that deranged nose. Aero not working well at the front of that car. 7.5 minutes to go. And I think 2 more laps before they hit the traffic. And it's the LMP3 traffic which is battling for first, second and third. Actually, Colin Brown's snipped a wheel a bit, so it's Gabby Chavez and Garrett Grist who they're going to come up against first of all. Also, actually, Kyle Marcelli is in there, although he's a lap back. So there are 3 LMP3 cars that they will come across, the leaders will come across. They are turning, the leaders turning through turn 3 at the moment. Colin Brown just going onto the Mario Andretti straight at turn 6, and that little gaggle of cars that they'll come up to first of all just coming in and now out of turn 5. So it's probably not this one, but the next lap before Renger van der Zande has traffic to deal with. And then, quite frankly, I think they'll get pretty close to the end after that, because they'll have to come round and pass the GTD cars again, which they only lapped a couple of laps ago. So Van der Zande decisive when he needed to be, incisive through traffic, and has still only a 1 second lead though. Jarvis not letting him get away.
Yeah, every 6 or 7 laps they're going to catch the GTD cars, and they're going to catch them again, as you say, one more time before the end of this race.
So here's the first of the LMP3s. 1 car at a time is not normally the worst thing. It's the number 13, the Decay. On board of that is Kyle Marcelli, and he gets out of the way at turn 3. Meantime, in the battle for the podium positions in GTD, Phil Ellis looking at the back of the leader in class. That's the number 27, Maxime Martin. They're coming to the end of their lap. In behind them, Daniel Ucadella for WeatherTech Racing, but he's in the GTD Pro category, sitting just 1 step off the podium at the moment. Then it's Conor De Filippi, then Ryan Eversley for Rick Ware Racing. But that is the battle for the lead in GT Daytona, just going down to the bottom of turn 2 now.
Yeah, you're right. And they've got a pretty good lead over Ryan Eversley in 3rd position, and Ryan Eversley in that 3rd position has a GTD Pro car of Kamui Kobayashi in between himself and the battling still Bill Oberlin and Brian Sellers.
The timing screen lighting up with green, particularly for Colin Brown, who knows he's under pressure, but he's been able to pull away now. Yeah, he's saved some tyres, as only Colin can do. Not sure how he managed to do it from sheer force of will, but he's now 7.3 seconds ahead of Gabby Chavez in second, and a new fastest lap for him and that car, a 1:12.539, fractions of a second away from the best lap of the race, a 1:12.523. Phil Ellis again having a look, getting a better run down the Mario Andretti straight than the Aston Martin ahead of him. That Mercedes GT3, the AMG GT3, clearly has plenty of power, but just not close enough to turn that into an overtaking opportunity. Ross Gunn is just ahead of them. He is 3rd in GTD Pro, and the teammate of the car that blue and black Mercedes is trying to pass.
Well, yeah, he'd be happy just to stay behind him, I think, at this stage, as long as he can stay ahead of that black and blue Mercedes, car number 57 for Winwood Racing behind him. Those two Astons have been running pretty much nose to tail out throughout this race. And, it's been another fine performance. They won as a result of penalties. Both classes 1 week ago, and they'd be happy with a couple of podium finishes in the respective classes here again today. Meanwhile, out front, Renger van der Zande is pulling away now from Oliver Jarvis.
Yeah, traffic's played its part. They have hit another little gaggle, as Jeremy predicted, and it took Ollie Jarvis and Pipo Derani a little more time to get past, I think it was Kami Kobayashi, and it was the other car that was in there, maybe the 36 car as well, the Gabby Chavez car. They didn't hit them at the same part of the track. 3 minutes to go. And Cadillac may well be on for a victory in the Chevrolet Grand Prix at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Corvette in a podium position at the moment in GTD Pro. Great battles right throughout the field. Van der Zande then, with a wee bit of a gap for the next group of GT cars. He'll come up from behind Connor de Filippi, I think, next. And in front of Connor, Stella Youngadella, and then that battle between Phil Ellis. Meantime, the battle for second and third and fourth has closed right up between Ollie Jarvis, Pipo Derani, Richard Westbrook. Lost a couple of positions on the restart, but he's right there now. And Derani is with Ollie Jarvis. This could be massive for the championship lead. Ollie Jarvis needs to hold on to second position through turn 8 now, and the Cadillac closed in. But my goodness me, through the centre off that corner, Ollie Jarvis in the Acura, really stable and able to pull out, what, 3 or 4 cars lengths there, Jeremy? That was impressive.
Yeah. It was, wasn't it? And clearly that Derani was slowing up that car a lot more for that right-hander at turn 8 than was the Acura. That was really interesting graphic. I mean, they were so closely matched up straight away. When as soon as they got into what is for some at least a braking area, it was dramatic how much the Acura pulled out. Wow.
Now here is more traffic, so that's more potential trouble. The leader has gone through. It's at turn 5. Here comes Ollie Jarvis, and he's got the battle for first, second and third in GTD Pro right ahead of him. But he's managed to get the WeatherTech AMG between himself and Pipo Derani in the red and white number 31 prototype. Here comes the 0-2. Earl Bamber's not out of this either. He's got Westbrook in his sight, and he runs into the back of him almost there. This is the battle for fourth and fifth side by side. They threads the needle and goes through somehow, avoiding the heart of racing Aston Martin. My goodness, Earl Bamber, well, penalised earlier on for contact at turn 5, but he absolutely knew the width of his Cadillac there to the millimetre. Last lap, and Van der Zande is 3.5 seconds up the road, but who else stands on the podium, Jeremy?
Yeah, right. They go past the GTD leader there on what will be the last lap of the race.
Through turn 3 then, half a lap to go. No traffic now for the 0-1 and Renger van der Zande. He comes out of Moss Corner, the hairpin, and that's where the battle is for second, third, fourth and fifth. Jarvis, Derani, Bamber, Westbrook. Those 4 drivers looking for 2 steps on the podium. Has the Acura got enough power down that long straight? It's another late, great move to take victory and snatch it away from Meyershank Racing. This time, though, it's a Cadillac, and it's Renger van der Zande who comes to the line and finishes what his teammate started. Sebastian Bourdais not at his best this weekend, but they've taken the victory for the 0-1 team. Here comes Faf to take the GTD Pro ahead of Corvette Racing in second. That's another good run for the Aston Martins of Heart of Racing, a third in Pro and a win in the GTD category. There goes Colin Brown to win LMP2 ahead of Gabby Chavez and Gareth Gritz. That closed up, that massively closed up towards the end. Colin Brown lifting off there, lost about 3 or 4 seconds in the last couple of laps. It is Shank Racing second for the 5th time in a row, but that will give it the championship lead. And Shea Adam is down with the winning team.
Peter Barron, 3rd win on the season for this 0-1 machine. You just did something with Renger van de Zande that he's never done before. You won north of the border.
We won north of the border. We've been close here, but you know, the crew's awesome. The engineering's fantastic. It's a great team, and it's why I came over here to be part of this. And you know, we had the speech today. I quoted the good old Kennedy speech about we go to the moon not because it's easy, but because it is hard. And we knew that coming in here today. And Renger killed it. Sebastian held in there. We were fighting a power steering issue the whole time. And it was awesome. These guys deserved it. Kudos to everybody here.
Hey, congrats. Go plant your flag in the moon, okay?
Thank you very much.
Very good. Very good, Shea. Jeremy's doing the arithmetic to confirm what he was telling us earlier on. Let me give you the VP Racing Fuels unofficial results then. Cadillac Racing, the 0-1 Chip Ganassi team, win by 3.5 seconds from Meyer Shank Racing in the number 60. Their 5th second place in a row, just 3/4 of a second ahead of a charging P. Porterani at the end for the number 31 Wheel and Engineering Cadillac team. Earl Bamber recovering from a drive-through to 4th position for the 0-2 machine. And the top 6 made up by JDC, and crucially in 6th position, the number 10 Konica Minolta Acura. The championship leaders coming into this weekend, Jeremy. How does that affect the standings in DPI?
In DPI, there'll be a new leaders now, 27.37 for Oliver Jarvis and Tom Blomqvist to the 26.81 of Ricky Taylor and Philip Albuquerque. In 3rd position now will be today's race winners, Renger van der Zande, Sebastian Bourdais, with their 3rd win of the season. That matches the tally of Ricky Taylor and Philip Albuquerque. They've got 25.89, so less than 100 points behind now, out of the championship lead in 3rd position for car number 0-1.
Score 2, the GTD Pro winners, pretty much home ground for Faf. Hey, Steve Bortolotti with Shea.
It is home ground, and Faf Motorsports has won a lot of big races. Daytona, Sebring, the championship, but Steve, winning on home ground, this one hits different.
Yeah, it definitely hits different. It's such a huge group of, you know, Faf employees, customers, so many people here supporting us, family, friends. It means a lot for sure. We've kind of been cursed at our home track, to be honest. Maybe not so much. We only been here once with WeatherTech, but even in the Cup days, it was never really our bread and butter. But you guys put the work in, 2-day test, and it was a full team effort. Matt Campbell killed it on his out lap. The boys in the pits were totally on it, and we got something to show for it now. So really happy.
Happy belated Canada Day.
Thank you.
Yeah, holiday weekend, of course, Canada Day at one end of the weekend, and 4th of July tomorrow. What does that do to the points in GTD Pro? In fact, I'll wait for a second to ask you that, Jeremy, because we've got John Bennett, the winning co-driver for Core Autosport and team owner for Core Autosport in LMP3. Shit.
And he's just seen his car, and he's walking down to Colin, flailing everything. John, you just pointed at Colin. This is your 4th win at this track. Do you wish that every race could be here?
Yeah, we certainly have good luck here, and I think part of it is just Colin just loves this place, and super great day for us.
It is, and big for the championship as well. This moves you guys further into the lead. You're looking long-term picture, aren't you?
Yeah, it was not easy for us to get here. We had to do some creative staffing to get the car on the ground here, and but yeah, it certainly doesn't hurt our championship.
Congratulations on another win.
Thank you, Shay. Thank you.
GTD Pro points, Jeremy Shaw, and then we'll do LMP3.
Yeah, in the GTD Pro, they came in with the championship lead. They will extend it. Will Matty Campbell and Matthew Jaminet. So they've got a handy lead now. Over in 2nd place will be the Corvette of Antonio Garcia and Jordan Taylor, who finished 2nd today as well. So a pretty big lead now for the Faf Motorsports team. 2056 to 1919, so 137 points the lead, excuse me, more than that actually, to 1918 actually. Garcia and Taylor will move into second place ahead of Ben Barnicat.
And LMP3?
LMP3, the lead will now be held by, well, it was held by John Bennett and Colin Brown, so they will extend their lead 13.91, so a 98-point lead over Garrett Christer and Ari Balog in second position.
2 wins in 2 weekends for the number 27 Heart of Racing team. Roman De Angelis is back on top step of the podium, and this time it's again another home winner, Shea Adam.
Yeah, and it doesn't get much better than this. Roman De Angelis, now you've won at your home track at Belle Isle, and you've won at Canada's home track, CTMP. Max drove his butt off in that last stint, but the opening stint, you were up there battling with the other GT cars.
Yeah, definitely Max made me quite nervous in the end. Everyone was celebrating on the pit wall, but he was defending, so I was watching until the end. But no, it was an awesome execution. I think we got pretty lucky as well with the cars in front that were much quicker, either crashing out or having issues. Had a pretty killer strategy as well, so super happy to be with Maxime and get another win together, and for the whole team as well. So it's been a rough start to the season, but a good run now. So.
Yeah, and Maxime, it seemed like the car rolled off the track. I mean, we knew it was a winning car last weekend, but it seemed like it rolled off pretty well. Is that the secret to the success this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of things. For sure, the track is helping our car a lot. And then, like Roman said, the strategy, we were quite lucky with some cars, quite good with the strategy. Yeah, and at the end, it was really close. I mean, the Mercedes behind was so fast. But, yeah, a win is a win. We take it. It's a fantastic for the whole team. And thanks for Roman and the whole team. Thank you.
Congrats to you guys, and on next to a track that you won at last year, Lime Rock.
And before we wrap up for our international world TV feed, here's Jeremy Shaw with the GTD points. This was a Sprint Cup round, Jeremy.
Correct, yeah, round 5 out of 8 in the Sprint Cup, and Madison Snow and Brian Sellers had the lead coming in here, and they will have the lead going out to finish 5th today, but 16.65 for Madison Snow and Brian Sellers, and Robbie Foley and Bill Arbelin, who finished in the 4th position, they will be in second place, a little bit closer on 15.47. And then Roman De Angelis will move up into 3rd place on 14.77 with a 2nd place and a win the last 2 Sprint Cup races for the Heart of Racing Aston Martin. The Manufacturers' Championship, by the way, in GTD in the Sprint Cup, the lead now, I think, will be held by Lexus. BMW will maintain its lead on 17.40 ahead of Lexus on 16.03. And then Mercedes and Aston Martin 15.72 and 15.68.
Thanks to our camera operators and everybody who have made this possible at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park this weekend. Also to our colleagues up in Charlotte, an extremely complicated weekend for them, and they've managed to get us all the right pictures at all the right times so that we could bring the coverage to you here at the circuit and further afield. We'll be back at Lime Rock Park once again on Sirius XM 207 and on IMSA Radio RS2. For Jeremy Shaw and Shea Adam, I'm John Hindhaugh. The responsible adult was, as ever, Eve Hewitt. Don't forget, stay tuned or tune in to RS2 via imsaradio.com and hit listen live. It's Michelin Post Race Tech exclusively live coming up next. We'll see you at Lime Rock Park. Bye for now.